Back to another edition of the Rodcast. Oh, so good to call it a freak flag. Feel good. Fake it till you make it. Ric Flair. Woo! 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. We got a lot to get into. Yeah, it did happen. We all knew it was going to happen. Bronny James drafted by the LA Lakers. We'll get into that. Also, we'll get into big splash on the 40 acres. I ain't gonna say my man Patrick called it, but he did tell Texas to pony up when it came to one of the top prospects out of the portal, and Rodney Terry got his man. We'll discuss that because my man Patrick is really excited about it. We'll also, because that's the last actually scholarship player for Rodney Terry's offseason construction. So the team is done. We know exactly how it's going to look. We'll talk about what that vision looks like coming up here in this segment. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment. Texas actually made another hire on their staff, a consultant, special assistant. The details of the role has not been given yet, but that's the second hire that they've made on the coaching staff in the last week or so. I do think it is connected to the NCAA's new ruling that you can have unlimited support staff, unlimited staff, period, unlimited staff, and that unlimited staff can now instruct on the field in practice, which is something that was also limited by NCAA rules before. So maybe Texas now, with all the straight cash homie they are starting to use their resources and maybe taking advantage of that rule. All right, we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. We go behind the burnt orange curtain. Next hour, we'll get into EA Sports has their video game ratings out. They're rating all of the defenses and the offenses. Remember, they did the toughest home field advantages. They also did the toughest places to play, that kind of stuff. So they're releasing some of the details. It's trickling out. So the latest is the rankings they have for the best offenses in the video game and the best defenses. We'll talk about where the Longhorns are. We'll get into that a little bit. Also, coming up next hour, we'll have Raj Rant. Raj Rant is an NFL / Texas football rant. It's kind of football theory. You know, we'll tie it all together. But there's I think a connection between a really explosive offense in the NFL. Well, I know there's a connection between a really explosive offense in the NFL and Sark's offense, but I think Sark needs to explore that connection a little bit deeper. We'll get into that in Rod's rant of the day. We got your usual favorites. We got what the facts, what the stats. We got off the record. We got who said that. Of course, we'll have the topic for the big fat poll of the day. We are loaded on a Friday, but before we get into any of that, let me introduce you to the rest of the crew, because he's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustler spirit, period. Not sure what he's paid, but I'm pretty damn sure this man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It is our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick?
Doing good. It is Friday. Looking forward to a good weekend. Enjoyed getting some news for the Longhorns yesterday. Enjoyed watching round 2 of the draft yesterday. And I will enjoy this weekend turning off my social media, because it is getting rather hateful on social media right now for all the things happening. And then the debate was last night and all of that, and try to ignore as much of it as I can. And hey, you log on in the morning, and it is a lot of hate in there. So looking forward to shutting that down for the weekend. Just trying to enjoy some life.
No, it's going to be a very interesting election.
Yeah.
I'll say after watching, I think we all probably watched the debate a little bit. We don't get into the debate and the politics. They did go off on each other about their handicaps and their golf game. Did you see the golf game trash talk part?
I did not watch any.
You didn't?
Did not watch it.
Oh man, you know what? I'm going to send you that. We can play that part. That's sports related. Okay. We don't talk a lot of politics on the show, because we understand it's a very sensitive, delicate issue. We're not trying to get into that. All right, we love everybody's opinion on this show, because that's what sports talk is about. Just kind of going at it that way, but we understand the political realm is a little bit different. But they did actually, it's a debate. They went at each other about each other's golf game. Right, so I might say that we might be able to play that part, just the golf game part.
Yeah, no, I was enjoying stories about wrestling in the 70s. That was what I was doing last night.
Yes, that is good. No, trust me, it is great to unplug from that, because it is. You're right, man. It gets vitriolic, to say the least.
It does, but it is going to be a good show on a Friday, because there was some good stuff that happened for Texas basketball. At the end of the show yesterday. I was like, this decision's probably coming down today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it came down yesterday afternoon, and it's a big one. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but that is a big 12th roster spot and 12th scholarship. I did not expect to get a starter as our 12th. I expected to get
Just
some guy that may be a future player. Did not
Yeah.
expect another starter. So that was big.
Hey, but you said you said, hey, it's time because SMU, I guess the pony up thing was kind of a pun. But they were the other school that he was considering.
Yes.
And we just talked about SMU and how they assembles like $150-something million war chest in fundraising because they're going into the ACC and they don't have revenue distribution for the first 7 years. They're like, no, we're fine. We're okay. Everybody's like, are you sure you're okay? Oh yeah, we're fine. We'll be okay. And they just raised $150 million. They said their goal, Coach Shippey said he got a friend and told me their goal is $200 million. So they got the money. So to your point, Texas, I believe, decided, hey man, we need this guy. Let's get
him. And hats off to Rodney Terry again for whatever people want to say about him. There's no way you cannot say he's a great recruiter. He has brought in a lot of good talent, and that was a big piece of him when he was an assistant as well. He's brought in a lot of talent. So the hats off for him to bring in another big player to Texas. But let me introduce you to my co-host, a big player for us here at the Horn. My co-host is a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod Father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate that intro. Also, we got to get into this Kyle Filipowski story.
The story that I did not realize was a story until watching a pre-draft thing yesterday. Right? And then
it blew up.
But I looked into what it was, and it's not. It's weird.
It's weird, but not necessarily like illegal.
It's not as salacious as what it sounded like at the beginning.
It's just it's weird. It's strange. You're right. I think the weirdest is that the NBA scouts have now they're the ones who brought it to the forefront because apparently that's one of the reasons that he dropped in the draft. That he's estranged from his family as a result of this relationship with this young lady who is older. And they believe they're using some strong words. I don't even want to use the words they're using some strong words, but they believe she's been a bad influence on him because she's kind of told him to disconnect from your family and let's go all in on Mormonism. And that's why they said that's why the Jazz were like, oh, we got no problem with that at all. What are you talking about? This is perfectly fine. What are you guys talking about? This is perfectly fine. This is exactly what we're used to. This is part of our community.
You got a big white guy over there. Let's take him to the Jazz.
Oh no, it's dating former babysitter stuff. Like it's one of those.
Yeah, it's a weird
story. I don't know if it's illegal or anything.
It was what was really crazy about it was I did not heard nothing about this, and I don't really follow Duke that closely. So it's not surprising that I wasn't, hugely up on a second round pick or a late first round pick. But at the same part, I did not realize that was a thing until yesterday. I'm watching, and you're like, oh, I wonder why he didn't get drafted. And they're like, oh, it's because of this salacious story of the. And really,
it is. And you know what? We'll get into it. We'll get into the details. I know we're kind of teasing it, but we'll get into it because it's a lot to sort out. And right now, it's just more conjecture. But his family's going on social media. They're the ones who kind of lit it up. They're the ones who lit the fuse. Because they're the ones who went on social media to kind of, give their side of what had become like kind of a story of why he dropped in the draft. So anyway, we'll get to the Kyle Filipowski story at one point because that thing it's weird. It's just weird. All right. Before we get started, we're going to get into because I know my man Patrick is really excited about talking about Arthur Kaluma, who is, like I said, I'm going to give you credit because you called. You said they got to have him. And Texas believed that they had to have him too. And he was the best player left in the transfer portal. So we'll get to that. We'll also talk about Bronny James. Now people are upset about nepotism. And they're
not upset about nepotism. They're upset
that's the word that's thrown out there.
No. They hate LeBron James. That's what it's about.
This is true.
It's 100% about that. It's nothing to do with
nepotism. I agree, Patrick. I'm not agreeing. I agree with you. Thank you for your passionate opinion. I'm just saying, but that is the word that's being thrown out there.
I know. You're right.
People are upset about it, and they have we'll get into it. That's the term. Trust me. I'm with you. I don't disagree with you at all. I think it's ridiculous.
One of the reasons why I'm getting off social media this weekend.
That could also be another. Yeah, you know what? That was also part of it. Some people that didn't like that. I didn't think that would be a blowback of people talking about that. But
I did not expect how many people it was. I
didn't either. I was like,
and meet people in media. Let's put it that way. I expected blowback from a lot of other people, not people in media. But there's a lot of people in media who were acting like this was something strange or weird, and it's not.
Yeah. No, we'll get into it because I'm with you. I think it's interesting because I do think it's a macro. It's kind of a microcosm of the macro issue.
Yeah.
In our society, period. And usually most people don't have a problem with it, but and now it seems like it's being targeted at the criticism at LeBron. It's like, well, it's everywhere. Why y'all mad at it now? Anyway, let's get into it. We'll first get educated, updated, and informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas basketball finalized their roster with a big transfer portal addition of Arthur Kaluma yesterday. The 6'7" Kaluma spent his first 2 seasons with Creighton before spending last season with Kansas State. Kaluma averaged a career-high 14.4 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists at K-State, and figures to fit in as the starting 4 for Texas in a small ball lineup with Jordan Pope, Trey Johnson, Tremone Mark, and Caden Shedrick. In the NBA, round 2 of the draft was held yesterday with the Spurs picking up guard Juan Nunez from Spain, who's expected to play overseas next season, and forward Harrison Ingram from North Carolina. The Rockets traded their pick to acquire 20-year-old wing A.J. Griffin from the Atlanta Hawks, and the Mavericks drafted Melvin Angiga from a 6'8" wing from France. From the Longhorns, Max Asmus signed a summer team deal with the Utah Jazz, and Dylan DeSue signed with the Toronto Raptors Summer League team. In Major League Baseball, the Astros begin a weekend series with the Mets tonight. Roniel Blanco gets a call for the Astros. Cal Tucker, who has been out with a shin injury since June 3rd, traveled with the team, but a return to the lineup is not expected this weekend. And the Rangers lost their 4th straight game, 2-11, to the Orioles yesterday. John Gray got lit up for 8 runs in 5 innings, and a Garcia solo home run and a low single were the only scoring plays of the day for the Rangers. The Rangers hope to turn their luck around with Max Scherzer getting his 2nd start of the season, going up against Albert Suarez and a potent Baltimore offense. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. We appreciate those. All right, let's start with the big story nationally, which is Bronny James, and not a surprise, being drafted by the Lakers. First father-son duo to be in the NBA at the same time, so quite an accomplishment. And it was obvious that LeBron James and his camp wanted this as an achievement. Right. I mean, and I think that's the way they look at it, as an achievement from a marketing perspective and as a team, kind of LeBron and his influence as a superstar. And yes, of course, and I'll kind of give you the floor here because I want to get your thoughts. But they're throwing around, people are criticizing him and criticizing the Lakers, by the way. First of all, they're saying that, LeBron James has too much influence on the Lakers, hired his friend JJ Redick as the coach, and obviously drafting his son. I'm gonna go from the drafting the son part, because the coach thing, I mean, if you want to go there, you can go there. But I will say this, the nepotism thing. We just talked about this last week. We talked about it from an NFL perspective. We talked about it from the perspective of college sports in even here close to home at Texas football. We talked about it from the perspective. Tom Haberstroh had a great article in the NBA about father-son connections and how it is now a data point in evaluations that they considered a good one, a positive one. Nepotism is everywhere in our society. It just manifests itself in different ways, different places. Yeah. Politics, I mean, we're just talking about, politics is it's full of nepotism. It's everywhere. It's at Hollywood, it's everywhere. I mean, it's rampant in Hollywood. And I think it's pretty much people. And by the way, I would love for my kids to be a Nepo baby of some kind. I don't know if I'm going to be that influential or rich. So I don't think she's going to get that opportunity. But I mean, I'm not, that's crazy that people are upset with others. And I get it, because that's privilege of some kind. And we don't like privilege in the society of any kind. But man, I mean, who's not going to hook up their kids and their family if they get the chance? I think that's just the way our society works and has worked. Now it's become kind of an ugly word because of it's attached to privilege. Yeah. But it's still everywhere, and it's been everywhere. It's in a different way.
But this is the thing. If you hate nepotism, fine. Hate every single politician whose dad was a rich guy and does it.
And Hollywood too.
Hate everyone in Hollywood who does it. Hate every athlete who has ever got their kid in. By the way, Brady Sarkisian should not be on the UT roster. Not even a walk-on. Because that's nepotism, guys. Steve Sarkisian is promoting nepotism. It's stupid. Everybody does it. You take care of your family. And I agree. Yeah. There are parts where it goes too far. If Brady Sarkisian was a scholarship athlete, that would have gone too far. We all agree on that. So there's steps of it not going too far. If Bronny James was a first round pick, it went too far. He was a 55th pick in the draft. Tell me one of those other players that got drafted. Tell me any of them you scouted and knew. You didn't. I watch basketball constantly. I didn't know most of those players that were going in the late 2nd round. So, and now when I say I don't know, I never watched him play before in my life. So I'm telling you, it's not a huge deal to take a guy 55th. And we can say the nepotism, the easy one that everybody brings up is Giannis Antetokounmpo has been on the Bucks roster for 5 years. They won a title with him on there. He's garbage. He's 31 years old too. There's no future potential in him maybe being good one day. He's getting worse. And he still has a roster spot there. So you can forget the whole, well, they're going to give him a roster spot. That's fine. Give him a roster spot. He's 20 years old, 21 years old. Let him have a roster spot on the team. It doesn't matter. So we can put there. We can go look at the Knicks. Jalen Brunson's dad works for the Knicks. He goes get to max contract. He brings in his college buddies. He trades 5 unprotected first-round picks to bring in another college buddy of his. And when no one's saying, oh, well, maybe his dad's a little nepotism helping out his son. And look, we don't, because we like Jalen Brunson, because we like Giannis. So it's okay that they do it, because we don't care that they do it, because we like them. But they have it too. There's nepotism there. That's why it works. If you want to know why Jalen Brunson's not a Mav, it's because his dad works for the Knicks. And his dad went to the Knicks and said, we'll offer you a max contract because because you're my son.
You're my son.
And we believe that, because I know what the player you're going to be is. And I believe in you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I get that. But if we want to go there, and then we can flip it on the other. It's not even about nepotism. It's about treating your superstar right. You treat your superstars right. You let them do things. You want to talk about what the Lakers are doing, treating their superstar right. Tom Brady went to the Bucks and redesigned that roster by himself. He went in and got the head coach fired by himself. He did all of these things because he was doing it, and he wasn't wrong for doing it. It's what you do to win championships. You take care of superstars. As Doc Rivers, if he should have allowed Tim Duncan to get a flight on a plane, and maybe Orlando would have an NBA championship because they would have taken care of their superstar better, and he would have gone and played up with Grant Hill and Tracy McGrady in Orlando, and that could have been a pretty good team. But they didn't do that. And so people do treat their superstars right. You want to get on the Lakers for hiring J.J. Redick. Were you really going to be like, well, they hired James Borrego. What a great coach he is. I like James Borrego, but it's not like you're going to say that that's a home run hire too. If you want to get mad at the Lakers, stop yelling now. You want to get mad at the Lakers, the worst thing they have done in the last month is give a 3-sentence eulogy to Jerry West. That's the worst thing they've done last month. Not drafting Bronny James, not hiring J.J. Redick. They give a 3-sentence eulogy to one of the greatest players in Lakers history and one of the greatest GMs in Lakers history. They gave him a 3-sentence eulogy because of their own personal issues with him and because he doesn't like Jeannie Buss running the team. And so they gave him a 3-sentence eulogy. That is the worst thing they've done. If you want to talk about these systematic problems with the Lakers, that is where you can look at the start of it and say they don't like basketball minds. They don't want to have those people. Taking care of your superstar, every team does it. That's what you're supposed to do. Nepotism, every team does it. That's what the America's built on, is nepotism and helping out your family. But those are not anything different. You just don't like LeBron, fine. You don't have to like LeBron, but don't put any different. We all watched The Last Dance, and we all thought Jerry Krause was a real jerk for not taking care of his superstar, right? He killed the franchise because he wanted to fire Phil Jackson because they didn't get along because he didn't take care of his superstar. And Jerry Krause, there was a, 5-part, 10-part documentary that was telling you how awful of a person Jerry Krause was? And we all hated him for that. And then the Lakers take care of their superstar because they know that they have a tradition of taking care of their superstars and it helps them get free agents. And you get mad at them for that. I get it, but none of this is anything different other than the fact that people hate LeBron James because he's an outspoken person, because he's not well adjusted, which is not surprising when you've been told you're God's gift to man since you were 16 years old. And then by the time you were 17, told you're a piece of crap every day too from the other side. And that's what you've dealt with every day since you were 17. And then you proved them all wrong by winning. And then they tell you that you're still garbage because you only went to 10 finals and you didn't win them all. And MJ won his 6. So you only went 4 out of 10. You're not as good. Like, I get it. He's not well adjusted. It'd be amazing if he was. He's not. I get it. He does stupid things. He has Rich Paul go off and tell people, if you draft my son, he's going to Australia. He does stuff like that. He'll lie about stuff. I get all that. You don't have to like LeBron James, but to pretend that this is about nepotism all of a sudden, and it's a systematic problem in America, and this is why the Lakers are going to be bad because they trade away all their assets. They just the West is really good. If the Lakers were in the East, they'd be competing with the Celtics for the title because they'd be one of the top teams in the East. They're just in the West. The West is really good. None of this is crazy. It's just it's made out to be because they're trying to make it political. They want to make it something other than it is. It happens every day in sports, in every league. It's nothing that crazy
in politics and every day
and everything.
I mean, it
probably at your job.
It reminds me of that. the PIF, when the PIF, obviously the Public Investment Fund, funded Live and started to just pay players, and then the narrative was, oh, they're taking Saudi blood money. These players are taking Saudi blood money, and they're unpatriotic as a result. And I kept saying, but nobody calls the companies like Walmart and all the Amazon that also take the blood money. Nobody's boycotting them. Nobody's calling them unpatriotic. Nobody's calling them out. You know what I mean? And it's they were mad at the individual, but not mad at the corporations that were doing the same thing. And I'm like, well, if we go, I'm fine with you being upset with them taking what you call blood money. That's cool. Take that stance. But you can't just isolate that anger and frustration toward the individuals who, hell, man, it's hard not to take that kind of money. That's generational wealth that changes, the trajectory of your family forever. And then, you're not mad at the corporations for doing the same thing. Like that, to me, that's when I get upset. And that's basically the same thing that's happening here. Yeah. People are upset about the nepotism because it's LeBron who is taking advantage of nepotism, but they don't get mad at it when it's everywhere around you. You don't see it when hell, the NFL, 15% of the coaches in the NFL, and I want to say damn near 10% of the head coaches were either related to or by marriage or blood to some former coach. I mean, that's just That's
Nathaniel Hackett is still a coach in the NFL because of Aaron Rodgers.
Friend of Aaron.
It's a friend of Aaron's, and he's working. He got hired as a head coach because he was a friend of Aaron Rodgers, and they want him to go to Denver. He then gets hired with the Jets because they want him to go there. And we know his track record so far without Aaron Rodgers is garbage.
Well, I want to say his dad is Paul Hackett.
Yeah. So nepotism and superstar treatment.
His dad's a former NFL head coach. So yeah, he got them both. He knows.
Superstar treatment. It's both. It is what
job
it is.
Security.
It is what it is. You can say how bad it is, and we can agree on some of them. But it was the 55th pick in the draft. It's the 12th roster spot on a team. It is not going to make or break what the Lakers' season is going to be in any form or fashion. It's not that crazy. There's worse things that have happened in this league. There's way worse players who have been put on. If you don't want to get mad at, if you don't want to go back and go to Detroit drafting Darko Milicic #2 over Carmelo Anthony and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, you can go back and go, well, it was the #2 pick, and you picked somebody because you didn't want to pick these guys and you thought this guy was. That's a bad pick. Picking someone at 55, where we listed off the best players in second round history, in the second round, we left off Jalen Brunson off that list. He's a really good player now too. But you can say there's probably 10 really good players, like really good, that came out of the second round in the last 35 years. So all those second round picks, 30 second round picks a year for 30 years, 35 years, and you get maybe 10 that are really good. I'm not too worried about a 55th overall pick. Just not worried about it.
Well, yeah, no, you're right. It's like, I think it seems like the tense climate they're in politically, because we know we're about to be on the cusp of the election. It seems like it's like trickling over now into sports a lot. It does. So even with the Caitlin Clark thing early on, now with LeBron here, I mean, it seems like it's starting to happen. Everybody's trying to make the kind of a connection to some type of, I don't know, identity politics and stuff.
No, I mean, it's like the fact that Tom Brady gets revered for going to a second team and winning a championship, and for some reason it's okay that he argued with the refs and complained to the refs every single play of every single game for his entire career. That's okay because he fought his way there as, a 4-star recruit that went to a top school and started at quarterback in Michigan and then got drafted to the NFL. But he's such an underdog. He never had a chance. There, and I get he persevered and beat third things, but it was also, he was not an underdog story like me getting drafted at 40 years old. It's a real underdog story. It's like, I get it, but you can't say one guy is the legend forever and the GOAT and there's no problems with it, and the other one isn't, and he's a horrible human being and shouldn't be allowed to be existent on Earth. That's where you can find somewhere in the middle for both of those guys. Because then it's just personal opinion. I don't like this guy. I do like that guy. I don't like Tom Brady. I respect the hell out of him. He's a GOAT of football. I'm not necessarily the biggest LeBron fan in the world. I love the way he plays basketball because he's a really good basketball player. I like watching Kawhi Leonard play, and Kawhi Leonard screwed my team. So I love watching basketball. I get it. But I don't want to hang out with either one of them. I get it. I don't want to hang out with any of those guys. I don't need them to be my friends. But at the same part, when you're just going to when I just have to go on and see media members making these claims that this is the worst thing. The Lakers did a lot of dumb things. The Lakers gave Kobe a max contract at the end of his career when he was not playing that well because they take care of their superstars because they understand the long-term game we are going to be able to do this. And because we took care of Kobe, you know who's going to come here? LeBron James. And we're going to win another title with LeBron. And we're going to make tons and tons of money with it.
That's their business model. And the best stars in the NBA at one point, they always will entertain, hey, man, you know what? I might want to go to the Lakers and be the next.
Yeah, they will make me a star, and they will take care of me, and they will honor me until the day I retire.
And that's isn't that their family business? So basically, the family business is the Lakers. Like
the buses,
Buses, like that's their family. Yeah. So it is a little different than some people who are just like, oh, no, I own a team, but I'm a real estate mogul or tech mogul, something like that.
By the way, the kids run the team. They're Nepo babies who run the team.
Yeah. That's a great point. There you go. Boom. There you go. Put an exclamation mark on it.
50% of owners in sports right now are like Nepo babies.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, it makes the world go round.
The people who are raising the tickets on your merch and raising the tickets, the price on your tickets and raising the price on everything and parking and all that, those are all Nepo babies too. So go hate them. Have fun hating them. I don't care if you hate a Nepo baby billionaire. Have fun for that.
Oh, I love it. All right, let's get to a little bit of Arthur Kaluma, and then we'll get to the newest hire for the Longhorns, and then we'll get to that. We don't know exactly where his role is going to be. We'll get to that when we go behind the burn orange curtain. But first, Arthur Kaluma. You called this yesterday. He said the Longhorns need to pony up. No pun intended. This young man was deciding between SMU and Texas. Texas won. Actually, I think a lot of people thought SMU was in the lead here, but at one point something changed, and you said Texas had to get him. He was one of those guys that could really change the roster. Like he comes in and instant starter for you, and he could change almost everybody else's role because he can come in and do so much for you. What are your thoughts, Arthur Kaluma, now as a member of the Longhorn basketball team?
I mean, it's huge because you're bringing in a guy who averaged close to 15 points a game last year for K-State. He's also a guy that has progressed a lot in his career. If you've watched him through Creighton, where we saw him play for Creighton when we played Creighton a couple years ago, then with K-State, we've seen him play a couple times. By the way, he's 1-3 against Texas. I think that one win is in the Big 12 tournament last season. Is the one win he got over Texas. But we've seen him play, and as he's played, he's continued to get better. His shot's getting a little bit better. He's still not a huge three-point shooter, but his percentage has gone up year by year. So I doubt he'll be shooting a ton of threes. He'll probably play more at the 4. But everyone we know the more you can stretch the floor in basketball these days, the better it is. It opens up the court for a lot of guys driving. So I'm sure they'll see what he can do and see what his three-point percentage is. But to add another player in there who can play a little bit bigger than he is, has a good wingspan. He's a guy that is a draft prospect. He was at the scouting combine for the NBA, so a draft prospect. That's why he was in the transfer portal. He declared for the draft, pulled his name out before the end, and that's why he's in the transfer portal. But it's a huge addition that you now put in with Jordan Pope. We brought in Trey Johnson, the freshman phenom who's going to be there. Tremont Mark, who is going to be one of your premier players coming in from Arkansas. You put it with Caden Shedrick as your big guy, but you really solidifies that 4 because you were a little bit worried. You're probably going to have Jason Kint starting at that 4 spot, who is going to be an okay player, is going to be good for you, but you like to have those Indiana State guys coming off the bench for you. Just because there's a reason they're at Indiana State a little bit, so you want to see what they can do. But now you put Jason Kint and Julian Larry coming off the bench for you, along with Kendall Weaver. We know what he did last season, him returning. We'll see if Devin Pryor can take a step forward. You still worry a little bit about the size of this team. Zirko Nyemba is going to have to step up. They brought in that freshman, Jamie Vinson from Oak Hill. He was a late signee. So we'll see what he's going to be able to do as well. But, you're a little bit worried about the size, especially against bigger teams. Luckily, there's no more Zach Edey in college basketball. There is a kid that for Florida who I think is 7'9". So we'll see what he does when Texas plays Florida this year. But, you don't necessarily have all the big guys. The game is getting smaller, so it's not a huge problem. You'd like to have someone else, especially with Shedrick's injury history. You'd like to have another big. But getting a guy like Kaluma that instead of pulling another big who may not play any minutes for you, or may, the bigs that were left in this transfer portal era, this transfer portal, weren't necessarily bigs that were going to play. You bring in a certified starter. Again, 15 points a game in college basketball is really good. So he was doing really well for Kansas State. He was getting better as the season went on for K-State. That was the K-State as a team got a lot better as the season went on. So adding him in is a huge piece for this Texas team. It feels like they don't really have that gap in the starting lineup anymore. Your biggest gap is that depth at center, but everyone there is a frontline starter. If Trey Johnson has that season that you're hoping he has as a freshman and is a one-and-done guy, one of those players that is an NBA talent that is playing for you, then the limit for this Texas team is pretty high. The ceiling for this Texas team is pretty high. This is a team that could go a long way in the tournament. Now, a lot of that hinges on what Trey Johnson does. Because if Trey Johnson doesn't, play at a high level, early and his minutes kind of get pulled back and maybe he does, Jordan Pope and Tremont Mark become more of the focus of the offense, then, your odds are going to be a little bit lower because you just need that freshman star. You especially need him in tournament time. That's how you win tournament games a lot is you bring in, great young players that take you over the top. But this helps you fill out a roster. It's really, really good for them. You're also bringing in that freshman, Nicola Cody. He's coming off an injury, so he's a little bit behind, but he's like 6'9". You hope maybe he'll grow another inch. Maybe, high school. Hey, man, high school kids, you never know. High school kids can keep growing when they get there. So if you push him to 6'10", 6'11", then that gives you another big you can start playing in there, especially if he starts playing well and gets up to speed. He's a 4-star recruit, Nick Cody. So that's another guy you could put in that rotation. It's possible there to help out your weakest area. But, man, this is a big, big signing to bring another big body, another good rebounder, another good piece defensively. There's a lot that he's going to be able to add to this team and really shores up a team that, had a couple of spots, and especially when you didn't know who you were starting at that 4. And now it feels like Kaluma is that guy you can throw in there with Tremont Mark and Trey Johnson kind of playing the wings, and then he plays that inside-outside 4. It's huge. It's really big for that to be your 12th guy instead of another guy that, is kind of a future talent and in a someone you're just kind of taking a waiver on and seeing what you can get. That's real big for them to get Kaluma.
Yeah. No, man, it's a good. You're right about that. It's interesting. Every like basketball guy or basketball mind I trust, Patrick, you're one of them. They're really excited about this.
Yeah,
like they're giddy about this. So
because you don't get this late into it. You don't get this guy,
a talent like this.
Yeah, this is not something that normally your roster is pretty much built, and so to add in a starter at this hour is huge. Like because you're just talking about upping your team from a team that you felt, maybe could be Elite 8 quality if Trey Johnson really played well to ceilings, all the way to the top now. You feel like you've added now another piece to get you through, and that's really big.
And you're playing in the SEC. I'm not usually.
No, it's different.
Obviously, that would be it'd be more formidable, especially talking about football and baseball recently. But basketball, actually, it's going to be the opposite. Still a good conference in basketball, but it's nothing like the Big 12. Better team than last year, and you'll have at least a different team, of course, but it won't be the Big 12. It won't be the no nights off culture that the Big 12 presents to you. Okay, thank you, Patrick, for that. That was good stuff, brother. All right, we come back. We'll get into the latest hire on the Texas coaching staff. That's 2 in less than a week. Could Texas be trying to take advantage of this new NCAA rule, unlimited staffs, and they can instruct on the field now when they used to be restricted, and they were restricted to the film rooms and to being analysts, but now those analysts, they can actually be on the field. So we'll talk about that when we come back. We go behind the burnt orange curtain right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Mm-mm-mm. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I want to get into the latest hire for the Longhorns, and this is their second one in less than a week. They hired Bill Reese, the long time just scouting and recruiting vet. He's also been an assistant coach as well, but he's been a long time personnel man in the NFL and in college. And they hired him last week. And we went through his resume. I mean, starting in the 70s. Started in the 70s, 76, 77. That's when he was a grad assistant. And then from then, assistant coach at Northwestern, assistant coach, recruiting coordinator at UCLA. He went to be a scout, an area scout with the Chiefs from 94 to 97, 97, 2001. He was with the Chicago Bears, director of college scouting, the 2001 to 2003, director of college scouting for the 49ers, also the director of player personnel from 03 to 04, director of college scouting and player personnel in Cleveland from 04 to 08. Went back to the Chiefs, 08, 09 as another scout. 09, 10, special teams assistant, special teams and assistant as a quality control coach at Northwestern. And then from 09 to 2011, he was a draft consultant with Tampa Bay. And 2012 went to Wake Forest and then went to Notre Dame from 2017 to 2023. I mean, this dude has been all over the place as a personnel guy, recruiting and a scout. So he's going to help Texas, and I think he's basically going to join their what is now their front office. They have a general manager. I don't know if they refer to it as a front office, but I think he's going to join the front office and replace Bobby Merritt, who left to be the GM for the Rice Owls. So the latest hire is Scotty Hazelton. He's a special. Well, Bruce Feldman is reporting he's being hired as a special assistant. We don't know if that's special assistant to the head coach, or they just hiring another special assistant. It's not specific. The tweet says Hazelton joins the Longhorns after recently serving as Michigan State's DC, along with previous DC stops at K-State, Wyoming, North Dakota State, where they won the FCS national title there in 2011. I'll just say this about his resume. First thing that kind of popped out to me that he was most recently at Michigan State. You got to play Michigan. So if I'm Sark, number one, I give him a special project. Like I said, I don't know what he's gonna be doing. I said, especially like what his role is gonna be, but I do know they give coaches special projects. They've been doing that as far back as Mac Brown. I was talking to Coach Shipley about it. Mac Brown's last year in 2013 with Greg Robinson on the staff. He talked about how, Oklahoma was like one of the special projects that he had. We know Gary Patterson, when he was on the staff, he was given special projects, and the Alabama game probably being one of them. I would give him the special project of, hey, give us what you know about Michigan. You already have a file on them. You were the defensive coordinator there from 2020 at Michigan State at 2020 to 2023. So you played Michigan, all right, and every year, and I would try to get as much information from him, and I'd give him really freedom to just research and give us as much knowledge and info and data on Michigan as possible, because he's already got it. And that, I believe, that might be the special project early on. After that, during the season, whatever, you can let him do, the numerous different things on the staff. He could be an on-field coach for you. Obviously, he's been a defensive back coach. He's been a linebacker coach, been a D-line coach, and he's been a defensive coordinator. So anywhere on the defense at every level, he can help you. But I would give him Michigan. Give him the special project. They played. Now let me see what their record is. I believe the last 3 years, they were 1-2 versus Michigan. They did beat them that one year. But Michigan's been a top 10 team when they've been playing them. Those 4 years he was there, 20, 21, 22, and 23. But he knows a lot about them. There's a ton of familiarity. That's what I would do. Easy. And after that, you can, like I said, let him fill in whatever role that you need there. But I like his resume because he's a guy that's coached every level of the defense. He was a DB coach early on in his career. He kind of started out as a DB coach at like Fort Lewis in like St. Olaf or whatever he was. Then he went to Missouri Southern, was a DC there. Michigan Tech was a linebackers coach. North Dakota State D-line coach, but also a linebackers coach there. Then went to DC, USC for 1 year. I was a linebacker coach there. Nevada, DC there. Went to the Jacksonville Jaguars to be an assistant linebacker coach at one point. Then went to Wyoming to be the DC and linebackers coach from 2017 to 2018. Kansas State was there for 1 year and was the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach in 2019. And then Michigan State 20 to 2023. So at least Kleiman likes him. Kleiman's a damn good coach. So I think he's got a lot to offer. There's no doubt. But I would give him initially, I'd say, hey, man, these next 2 months while you're on the staff and it's the off season, I need you to work on Michigan. Just sit in a dark room.
Yeah.
Give you a screen, give you all the film you want. You already got a database and a file to work with. You got knowledge to work with. I just need you to work on Michigan because obviously the staff is gone, but Sharon Moore, I believe, was with Harbaugh the whole time as the OC, and he's the one that took over as the head coach. So that his philosophy and his play calling tendencies, that still applies. And this guy would know him because he was in a chess match against him. Multiple times. So
Yeah.
if I had to guess exactly what he was doing, that's what I would guess. But like I said, I don't know. But that's what I would do with him. That's what I would do.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I mean, we've known they've done that with special assistants before, that they have kind of given them, and you've seen the trademarks of it in games against the Alabama game. You could see trademarks of it. Of this seems like something that Gary Patterson worked on in the first year, and there's certain games that have been circled on the calendar of this is the game. We need to figure this one out. So we win this, it changes whether we win or lose this can change what our feeling is going into the rest of the season. And that's what Michigan is this year.
I want to say that Michigan State might be 2-2 in that time against Harbaugh. They won in 2020. He was there from what? You got him there from 2020 to 2023. So they won in 2020. That was a COVID year. So think of it what you will. Michigan was 13th that year. And then 2021, Michigan State versus Michigan. Yeah, they won 37-33. And I believe they lost the next 2 years. So of course they lost last year. But in 20, they got blown out last year. It was like 49-0 or something like that. Then they lost 29-7 in 2022. So I mean, you got a guy that's had success versus Michigan and Sharon Moore in that offense, and you've held them under their, I think, season average as well in those games. So I'm assuming that's why you brought him on. First of all, they have the new rule now where you can have an unlimited coaching staff. That's not the way they phrased it, but essentially now you can have an unlimited coaching staff. And they are adding, I think they're going to add another. I bet they add another coach too. I mean, why not? If you can afford it. And like I said, I don't know exactly what the roles are. I believe Bill Reeves is going to their personnel department. I think, this latest hire, Hazelton, I think he's going to be on the defensive side. I believe special projects, but like I said, I don't know. He could be a special assistant, also is given special projects. So I think, man, his ability, like Sharon Moore was at Michigan he's been at Michigan actually since as a tight ends coach from 2018 to 2020, but he was the co-OC and OC in 21, 22, and 23. He was the OC alone in 23 and O-line coach, and he was the co-OC in 21, 22. So I got to go see if he had play calling duties in 21 and 22. But definitely someone that that philosophically he's had influence on the offense as the co-OC, and he's been with that program a long time now. And I think that's what they're bringing in the new special assistant Scott Hazelton for. So we'll get into that a little bit more. We can get into it coming up a little bit later on in the show, but that is the latest hire for the Longhorns, Scotty Hazelton, who was formerly the Michigan State DC. All right, we come back. We'll have the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day. We also will get into the musically themed day of the week because it is a 512 Friday. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn.
Back on the Rodcast on a Friday morning. That means it's a 512 Friday where we play local music. You can go check out Around Town this weekend. And this is Ginger Lee. She is playing Saturday at the 04 Center, promoting her new release. Check her out Saturday at the 04 Center. A cool little spot. Church. They turn into a live music venue. Great lighting, great sound. A cool little spot there on South Lamar. Let's get into the big fat poll of the day. Text line is open 512-447-3776.
Big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
All right, big fat poll of the day today. We know that NCAA 25, the anticipation is building. They're starting to announce things, starting to announce rankings of offense and defense, and all those things are coming up. So I want to ask you guys, before they have announced the player rankings, who should be the highest rated player in NCAA 25? I'm not saying who will be, I'm saying who should be. So in your opinion, who should be the highest rated player in NCAA 25?
Yeah, it's probably going to be maybe Travis Hunter. I don't know.
Travis Hunter, somebody they have up there. We know, and we'll talk a little bit more about the offensive ratings, but we know that Georgia is up there. So Carson Beck is somebody that could be up there.
He could be.
We know Quinn Ewers is on the cover, so maybe Quinn Ewers would be up there. Donovan Edwards is on the cover. Maybe Donovan Edwards is up there. Just saying they're cover athletes, so they could have high ratings.
No, the cover athletes is kind of, that's why the Travis Hunter one kind of gets me. I think it might be him. I'm trying to think of, yeah, I mean, let's see, who's the best player in the country, basically. It's between Carson Beck is going to be in
Carson Beck's going to be there. Right? I've seen on some sites Ollie Gordon being referenced as someone who's going to be pretty high up there as probably the best running back in this year's class right now.
Yeah, it's a good one. No, it's a good one. I'm trying to think about all the different positions and who the best players are at their positions.
It could be one of those defensive linemen from Michigan is going to be up there close. They got some really good D linemen over there.
No, it's good because and then also I don't know, because a lot of people are upset with the formula that they have. Like they rank the Aggies as the best, toughest place to play on the video game. A lot of people disagree with it. They're like, oh, that's not the toughest place to play. And we'll get into the rankings of the offense and defense, and there are some discrepancies. I know. They got their own formula, and it don't necessarily add up with, oh, that's the best player. So no, it's something else.
I know we have, they have their own formula, and I know we're going to talk about it, but I wanted to throw out the question of the highest player, because it's sometimes you can say this offense will be really good or this one, but which player, if you're looking at it and you think this is the player who's going to be the best in college football next year, so this is the player who should be the ranking, this is the who maybe
I'm going Travis Hunter.
I think Travis Hunter is probably going to be it.
I'm going to try a guy that can be a starter at a Power 5 university on both sides of the ball. Like it's pretty damn impressive, man. You just don't see that these days.
The guy who may be the best player on the offense and defense for Colorado.
Yeah, exactly. Like both sides of the ball. That's crazy, man. That's wild. That's wild. So I'm going to go with Travis Hunter, but I think quarterback's usually going to get.
And I think Travis Hunter is probably the easiest. I think Travis Hunter is probably who's going to be. But I'm curious if Carson Beck. I'm going to put Quinn Ewers up on the poll simply because we'll see. We'll see if some people, if Texas fans want to go for it. He's on the cover. I'm putting Donovan Edwards up there. He's on the cover. But yeah, I know that Georgia is ranked, I believe, the number 1 ranked offense alongside Oregon, which we'll get into a little bit later. But that leaves you Carson Beck.
Georgia's going to be the best team on the game. They're going to be the best team on the game.
And so Carson Beck maybe gets that of being the number 1 overall pick is a possibility for him as well. So if you say he's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft next year, and he's that maybe put him up really high, but we will see. And I mean, I'm sure that they'll have the updated rosters that go through the season, and then
they'll update everything.
They'll update and go up and down. But we'll say starting off, who should be the highest rating player in NCAA 25? And this is the fun. I kind of knew this was happening, but I got told this, and I believe it's true. Is the fun that I've realized I probably will not get to play ESPN 25 for a little while. In the sole fact that they're not going to put it out on Xbox One, and I don't have the new gaming system.
Oh, the new model.
You have to buy the new gaming system to be able to get it, and I don't have that, and I don't really play games enough to warrant spending however many hundreds of dollars it is to get that.
That's a good point. I don't even know what the latest model of a game, the consoles are, because
No, I bought
forever.
an Xbox One off Craigslist several years ago for like $80.
That's good for you.
And
nice.
I was like, yeah, it still works and it's great. And I use it.
That's
and
good.
it's so that's what I've used. And it's just like, all right, get an hour every once in a while. You can go play a game for a little bit or play Madden or play MLB or play one of those games for a little bit. And then and so I have one, but then my buddy was like, do you know that they're not even going to put it out for us poor people? We get nothing.
No. Yeah. You guys got to get the
No, and I was like,
latest,
of course,
man.
because they know this is how you upgrade people like me who would never buy a new gaming system. You have to at some point cut it and bring in, and this is the game to do it because you can't play Madden on because on Madden you just play last seasons for like 2 more years while you wait for the price to go down.
Then they'll drive it down to where you can like, no, it's for us now. We can do it. I don't even know what the games cost nowadays. I really hadn't bought a video game.
I'm assuming it'll be around $60 to $70.
That's not bad.
It is though when you got about like a $500 gaming system with it.
That's true.
It becomes much more expensive.
True that. All right, there you go. Topic for the big fat poll today. I think Travis Hunter right now is the pick I'd go with as who would I predict to be the highest rated player in the game. But yes, 3 guys on the cover, and all those guys will be in the conversation. And they may put a defensive guy. Could you get a defensive guy that could have? I wonder who the highest rated defensive player is going to be, because the highest rated player is going to be an offensive player. That's just the way it works.
Yeah. Well, Travis Hunter's both ways.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. The only reason he's going to be the highest rated player is because he's doing both ways. Yes. If he was just playing defense, he's not the best corner in college football. No. That Michigan has the best corner in college football. But he's probably the best athlete right now overall in college football. So I think he'll get the best rating. All right. We'll come back. We'll get into some EA Sports video game conversation, some more of it. We'll talk about the highest rated offenses and defenses. They released that information. And also Rod's rant of the day. We'll talk about the connection between a really explosive offense in the NFL and Sark's offense. And I think Sark should go deeper and explore this connection a whole lot deeper. We'll discuss why when we come back. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a 512 Friday. Actually, it is a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. That's when my man Patrick plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented folks that you have a chance to see live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Joe James. He is playing Saturday up at Purple Bee, part of a live taping and show happening Saturday at the Purple Bee.
All right, I like that jam. It's a nice jam right here. All right, thanks to Murray Patrick for the 512 Friday selections. Also, he comes up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which actually is somewhat related to a topic that we'll discuss. The new EA Sports college football video game are trickling out some of their ratings from the game, and they recently released the highest rated defenses and offenses. So we'll discuss that. But the topic also is a video game related topic.
Yes, the big fat poll today. Who should be the highest rated player in NCAA 25? I just posted it up on X at the Horn ATX. I put up there Quinn Ewers, Travis Hunter, and Donovan Edwards, your three cover athletes. We'll put them up there. And then I threw in Carson Beck as Georgia's quarterback and possibly the number one overall pick in the draft next year, projected number one overall pick in the draft as of right now. So if we say he will be the top quarterback coming out of this class, top guy, that could be what people are expecting to be the number one player in NCAA 25.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I wonder if Travis Hunter can make a Heisman run. If truly people believe he's the best player in college football. I mean, that's what the Heisman's supposed to be about. It just usually ends up going to the best quarterback on the best team or the best quarterback on a really good team. That usually ends up being the case. But all right, there you go. So that's posted via Twitter, via X. You can go check it out at the Horn ATX. Oh, matter of fact, I look at the early results here. Early results, man. All Travis Hunter on this thing. Early results, just a few votes trickling in. But early results, man. It's like a lot of folks are on that Travis Hunter bandwagon. All right, so we'll get into the EA Sports college football video game. We'll get into some of the ratings that were released. We'll also get into Rod's rant of the day, which is I found connective tissue, some connective concepts, if you will, that linked an offense in the NFL and Sark's offense. And I think Sark actually could learn a lot from this offense because this offense has actually learned a lot from Sark's offensive philosophy. So we'll get into that. But big stories, of course, on the 40 acres and actually nationally in the basketball world. We talked about Bronny James being drafted by the Lakers. No surprise, kind of the worst kept secret in sports. But also we talked about the Longhorns, the men's basketball team, getting a huge acquisition, Arthur Kaluma via the transfer portal, and basically a walk-in starter for you, which, as Patrick pointed out, rare this time of year. So I want to get Patrick's thoughts a little bit more about that acquisition too. And sometimes you can look at the roster of a team. I often do this with football teams in the offseason. Look at their acquisitions, look at their draft picks, look at all the the different changes in the roster, and then try to almost predict what the style and brand of football is going to be. All right, what are they trying to achieve with these specific pieces? So I want to see if you can do that with this Texas roster. Now it's assembled. Yeah, like, what's going to be the brand of basketball? What is right? Was he just stockpiling talent and then going to figure it out, or is there a vision to it? Is there a method to the madness? So I want to get your thoughts. You're a basketball guy, and you've looked at all, watched a lot of these pieces they brought in. You know a lot of these pieces and researched them. I want to get your thoughts about that. We'll do that later on in this hour. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas basketball finalized a roster with a big transfer portal addition of Arthur Kaluma yesterday. The 6'7" Kaluma spent his first two seasons with Creighton before spending last season with Kansas State. Kaluma averaged a career-high 14.4 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists at K-State, and figures to fit in as the starting four for Texas in a small ball lineup with Jordan Pope, Trey Johnson, Tremont Mark, and Caden Shedrick. In the NBA, round 2 of the draft was held yesterday with the Spurs picking up Juan Nunez from Spain, who's expected to play overseas next season, and forward Harrison Ingram from North Carolina. The Rockets traded their pick to acquire 20-year-old wing A.J. Griffin from the Atlanta Hawks. And the Mavericks drafted Melvin Anhika, a 6'8 wing from France, From the Longhorns, Max Asmus signed a summer team deal with the Utah Jazz, and Dylan DeSue signed with the Toronto Raptors Summer League team. In Major League Baseball, the Astros begin a weekend series with the Mets tonight. Roniel Blanco gets a call for the Astros. Kyle Tucker, who's been out with a shin injury since June 3rd, traveled with the team, but a return to the lineup is not expected this weekend. And the Rangers lost their fourth straight game, 2-11 to the Orioles yesterday. John Gray got lit up for 8 runs in 5 innings, and Garcia solo home run and Lowe single were the only scoring plays of the day for the Rangers. Rangers hope to turn their luck around with Max Scherzer getting his second start of the season, going up against Albert Suarez and a potent Baltimore offense. That is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those. All right, let's get to these EA Sports power rankings for the new college football video games. And some of these rankings are a bit, I say, strange, suspicious. So on the offensive side of things, so Georgia they have as the highest rated offense. Is tied with Oregon. So Georgia and Oregon are 94 overall. Then they got Bama and Texas essentially also tied. They got them third, 3 and 4, but they both have 91 overall power rankings. So they're saying Texas is going to be one of the top 5 best offenses on the game. You know, like playing with Texas. Ohio State's at 89, tied with LSU. Then they got, I think Miami's tied with it's Colorado, Miami, Missouri, and LSU all tied at 89, but they still have them ranked accordingly here and have LSU at 6, Miami 7, Colorado at 8. The Colorado thing is interesting because Colorado last year, although, I mean, they have one of the best offensive players in the country in Shedeur Sanders, their offense wasn't really good last year. I mean, their offense was 50. They were 57th in scoring offense, 78th in total offense. I think they were 14th in passing offense. So Shedeur Sanders was doing his thing, but rushing offense, they were abysmal, toward the worst in the country, 130 something. They were not a good offense last year. But if you're gonna put one of their players on the cover of the video game, you better make sure that Colorado is at least decent because teams are gonna play with them. They're gonna play with Colorado.
Yes.
So I think that's why people are upset because they think Colorado's ranked a little too high as a top 10 offense, and they're probably right. But guys, they put them on the cover of the video game. They were a 4-win team last year. They had no business having an athlete on the cover of the video game either. But they are probably one of the top 5 most talked about programs in college football, even without actually winning a lot of games.
Yeah, people are going to play as the Buffaloes. They
are. So that's why they made them good, I think. Even though they weren't offensively, they weren't necessarily a juggernaut. They made them a top 10 offense because they know people are going to play with them. I know, sorry, because they're a top 10. I want to say defensively, they're top 20. They're a top 10 offense and they're a top 20 defense. People are upset about that, and I get it. It's not necessarily, if you go look at it, if you go look at their defense, last year they struggled on defense too, but hey, man. People are going to play with them, so they're going to make them good in the game. All right. The Longhorns, if you go look at the toughest, or at least the highest-ranked offense they're going to play, of course, they're going to play Georgia. So they'll play the best offense in the country, of course, the Georgia Bulldogs. And Georgia must be the best team in the game because if you look at their offensive and defensive rankings, they're 1 and 2 on offense and defense. Nobody else is ranked that high and everything. So they're easily going to be the best team in the game. And I think if you're just looking at the scores of basically the rankings, or I should say where they're ranked overall and their ratings, it looks like your top 5 teams in the game are going to be Georgia, the Oregon, Ohio State, Bama, and Texas. It looks like that's probably going to be your highest ranked teams in the game overall, just based on the rankings and how everything looks. If you look at there are only 16 teams made EA Sports top 25 on both lists. Alabama, Clemson, Colorado did. One of these things is not like the other. Alabama, Clemson, Colorado, Florida State, Georgia, LSU. You can argue LSU's defense last year was terrible. So they got LSU as the top 25 defense, and I guess that'll probably be on just tradition because last year they weren't, because they fired their whole defensive staff because they didn't believe they were a good defense. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Oregon, Penn State, Texas A&M, the Aggies. They got down here as the top 20 offense and defense. They got them 18th. Offensively, I think defensively they're at 19th. USC, Utah, and Virginia Tech basically are the best or most well-rounded teams on the game, pretty much. So I think Texas is going to be really good. I mean, they got Texas. Texas is going to be fun to play with because they got Texas. Listen, they got Texas defense, and this is even me. I'm trying to be impartial here. They got Texas defense 8th overall. They got Texas defense right behind Michigan. They're saying Texas defense is basically they got Texas defense. They got Michigan scores at 90 overall. And Michigan's defense is too low. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's too low. Michigan's defense should be a top 5 defense, and I guess they are because they have Oregon, Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Michigan all with a 90 overall ranking.
They're all tied there.
They're all tied, but they got them ranked. I mean, they got them numbered, but they're all tied. And then they got so essentially they're saying Texas might have a top 5 defense because they got Ohio State 96 overall, Georgia 94 overall. They got 5 teams: Oregon, Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, all tied at 90 overall, and then Texas is 88 overall.
So top 10 defense.
Yeah, but my point is, like, if you just go with tied, I hate when they list them like that. They're tied. They're tied for 3rd.
But then still tied for 3rd
overall.
would still be the next position would be.
No, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, like, basically they're essentially saying based on the rating. The rating is they got a 96, 94, 90, and then after that they got the Horns as the 88. So, like, for me, I'm like, man, that's real. Either way you look at it, top 5, top 10, whichever you look at, it's. I don't know. It might be too high. We'll see. If they got a top 10 defense in Texas is gonna get to potentially the semifinals.
All right. Well, let's change it, and we can ask that on the poll too. We'll ask you on the text line. Who's the highest rated Texas defensive player?
It's probably gonna be either Anthony Hill or Anthony Hill. It's gonna be out to me. Anthony Hill. It could be Jadae Barron. Jadae Barron should be really high, but I don't know if they're gonna be as high on him as I.
Makuba.
Like. Makuba could be it.
Do you think they give it to Trey Moore?
I mean, he did have a lot of splash plays coming in, but at a lower level, you could give to Trey Moore if you really like him that much. That's an interesting question. I mean, it could be like 3 different guys.
That's what I'm saying. It could be a few, but if they're ranking him that high, then multiple players have to have pretty good rankings.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's it could be like three or 4 different guys. It could be. We'll see. Because I think it could be Hill. You brought up Makuba. Could be Jadae Barron. Are we missing anybody there? Maybe on the edge because they're so deep. I think Trey Moore would be that guy.
Trey Moore would be that guy.
So he's got the skins on the wall. It could be 4 different guys. I really could make a case for all 4.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious on that one too, because if they're ranked that high, that means the player rankings are higher. So it means that all 4 of those guys are probably ranked pretty decently.
The player rankings must be high.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're basing this on.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is that's what kind of surprises me is because if you break down the team, I could see them not ranking any one of those guys particularly over the top high and over the whole thing. You'd say, well, they don't have any real sore spots and any real weak points on there. There's no 70s on there, but there's some guys a little bit lower, but those guys must be a little bit higher to get up to that ranking.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it must be like those 4 guys too, because I'm trying to think of who else they would rank higher than them on the
because I don't think they're going to put
Malik Muhammad will be pretty high.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll be that high.
I don't know if you don't figure they're going to put Alfred Collins or somebody like that who's very unproven up there.
Yeah, he's too inconsistent. And this would be his break. This is the year he's supposed to break out.
Yeah.
Even Sark was saying that. Sark remarked that, and we played that audio, that Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat didn't start a game for the first time until last year. I didn't realize that either. But they rotated, but they had never started. And I mean they got a really good coach, but that was with Bo Davis too. Now you're bringing in a lot of different guys in that D line. So I don't think it'll be one of the interior D linemen or one of the guys they brought in. Edges, you're right. Trey Moore is the most proven of that group, so it's him. And linebacking core, Anthony Hill. Secondary is going to be Jadae Barron. Maybe Makuba, like you said. So I think it'll be somebody at every level that could be the highest rated player on the defense. That's a good conversation. Here's a couple of other nuggets from this ranking from EA Sports, or the ratings from EA Sports. The Aggies, I brought them up. They're 18th and 19th in both of these. These Sooners, give you these Sooners. Sooners are 23rd offensively, and on defense they are 12th in the game. They had 88 overall. So essentially, yeah, they got their defense just as good as Texas defense, because even though they're, like I said, they're numbering them, they still got them at an 88 overall defense, just like Texas. They got Texas, Utah, Penn State, Florida State, overall 88 defenses. So they're really high on Texas defense. We'll see. They're high on Texas offensively too, and maybe I think they may be a little too high on the defense, but I can't wait to see exactly, like you said, what the ratings for the players are. All right, so that's some EA Sports rating. Not gonna have, remember, no horns down in the game too. We talked about that earlier. That was revealed, which I think is stupid. I don't understand how that's a thing. Like, who argued against that? It definitely shouldn't have been, and I don't think it was Texas that wanted the horns down out of the game, but we won't have it. Maybe in future editions they can bring it up. Maybe it's like a cheat code you can get in the game.
it'll be one of those downloadable content.
Yeah, that's something like that.
That DLC stuff, the downloadable content. You got to pay $5 and you get a horns down. Make them pay to hate.
That's a great idea. That would be an awesome idea, man.
I'll tell you what.
Sooners and Aggies would do it.
Hey,
they already pay to like burn at Longhorn stuff, or
$1 goes to Texas One Fund. Every horns down.
That's a great idea, though. I mean, if they could do that, I'd be down with that. Or some kind of code you can put in, and then boom, you can have the fans.
I want to make them pay, because none of us would pay for it.
No, but
all of them would pay for it. And
idea.
It would be hilarious to me to make them pay to do it. And the best part would be someone be like, "Well, for philosophical reasons, as a Iowa fan, I have to pay for the horns down." Like, man, you care?
Yeah, no, I am with you. I mean, I don't know why it's not in the game, but I love your idea. Make it somehow, if you can make people pay, that'd be great. But I'm with you. They should do it somehow, whether it's something you can turn on and off in the game, or whether it's a cheat code you can put into the game. Horns down should be there, man. And I'm speaking as a Longhorn who rightfully gets offended by the horns down, but it's part of the fabric of college football now. Come on, man. Can't be realistic without it. All right, let's get up against. You know what? Let's table Rod's rant then, because we'll do it next segment and get into it, because I want to get a little time. I don't want to have to rush through it. So I promise you we'll get to Rod's rant. Right now, let's get back to the basketball, get back to Texas basketball and Arthur Kaluma. I want to give you the floor a little bit here, Patrick, because you said yesterday, well, was that yesterday or earlier this week? You said
it was yesterday, yeah.
It was yesterday, yeah. You said Texas had to get this guy. He's like, man, if they need to, we're talking about NIL at the time actually, and you're like, if they need to overspend to make sure that they get this player, Arthur Kaluma, it'd be worth it. I don't know what they spent to get him, but they were going up against SMU, and we discussed last week SMU had been fundraising and building this financial war chest. They were up to $159 million for the year. Just for the year, they'd already raised $159 million. Coach Shipley told me he had a friend there that says, "Oh no, the goal is $200 million," and for the year in terms of their fundraising, because they want to now play big boy sports. That's why they want to go to the ACC. They decided to forego the revenue distribution, because they said, hey, we got private funds, we got money, we'll be okay. But they also, they're getting there was a Texas football recruit that was actually considering SMU, and it was coming down to SMU in Texas. And now you see this young man, one of the best players in the transfer portal, Arthur Kaluma, and it came down to SMU in Texas. Texas is not supposed to be getting in recruiting battles with SMU.
No.
It's just not really what happens. SMU's trying to play big boy ball, and they got the money to do it. So, like I said, I don't know what happened and transpired, but I'm sure he saw a great opportunity here at Texas. But NIL is definitely a big part of that decision, and Texas don't want to be beat. And they don't want to have a reputation for getting outspent.
And you just have to make the offer closer for some of these guys. I still heard that, SMU's offer was more than what Texas offered. But I think the decision was, do you want to play for a tournament team or make the money? Also, he's from the Dallas area, so SMU makes sense in that. But Austin's not too far away, and you get to go to a bigger school. So I think there's a lot of it. It would not surprise me if they up the offer a little bit and just get a little bit closer to that SMU offer. That makes the decision that much easier. That if you can call them up and go, hey, there's an extra 50 grand on it or whatever it is, and you say, okay, you know what, that's close enough. That'll put us in the ballpark. But when you're talking about being this late into the cycle, and you're talking about the only guys that were still there were basically guys that left their team to go try and be in the draft. They didn't like where their draft stock was going to be, so they decided to come back for another year. He was at the draft combine performing there, so he was thought of as one of the top 50 to 60 recruits in the country, appeal that could come out. So he's in that position. To be able to get that, to get a frontline starter this late in the cycle is huge. That 12 spot I kind of thought was just going to be, a throwaway spot, or not throwaway, but somebody that wasn't going to play for you this year. Yeah. Somebody who was going to be part of your roster, but was going to sit further back on the bench. And then maybe you get lucky. Maybe you get the Caden Shedrick, the Kendall Weaver that you got last year, that no one expected Kendall Weaver to be what he was, but he proved himself and got out on the court. So maybe you get that guy, but you're probably going to be, just trying to figure something out. Ends up, they get an Arthur Kaluma who has improved a lot each year he's been playing. He has size. He's about 6'7" right now. So if you put him at about 6'7", he can play inside out. He's got a bigger body. He's not a skinny type that is going to be able to go, that you'll be able to pump, get inside, make contact, and finish. He can do those kind of plays. He's going to be a good attacking the rim. His shot's not great. It's gotten better each year, so he's been working on it. I'm sure it'll improve. I think he was 21 to 25 on the stationary threes at the combine, which is one of the better shooters at the combine. So there's that, but that's not game. It's a stupid drill. But it's one of those things. It's a concept. He actually is a decent free throw shooter as well. That's the big one you want to see in basketball. If a guy can't shoot free throws, he's probably not going to be a great 3-point shooter because it means his form is off. So if a guy shoots 40% from three and 60% from free throws, it's more fluky than a guy who shoots 35% from three and 90% from free throws. You trust the guy who shoots 35% a little bit better because you figure that will improve with time. That'll improve when the line moves back in the NBA. But for college, adding Kaluma, putting in where you really feel confident in your starters. Everyone who's a starter played for a major division school last season. Caden Shedrick is going to be your center. That's probably your weakest point now for the team. But adding Arthur Kaluma is huge to bring in the 12th hour to that's your 12th man that is now going to be a starter for you. And just really shores up this team a little bit more. It's really exciting to get him to come in. And, when you didn't necessarily think you could add another piece to this team, adding a really good player. I mean, almost 15 points a game in college basketball is a good number. And it was at K-State in the Big 12. Yeah, so this is a guy, he played under Greg McDermott at Creighton as well, another good coach. Jerome Tang at Kansas State is a really good coach. So he's been coached up well. He's going to be able to come in to Texas and make a difference, and a little bit more veteran presence as well, as opposed to playing where you may have to play Nick Cody who's a freshman. You're going to be playing Trey Johnson a lot, most likely, who is the freshman phenom that you were able to get, who you're hoping is really well. Jamie Vincent may have to play some at the center position because you just don't have the depth. We know Shedrick's dealt with injuries, dealt with foul trouble sometimes. Izirka Onyema is pretty much your only other big there. And what we saw from him last year, we'd like to see him improve again, but I'm not sure if he's got the upside where Vincent, at least, you can believe there's some upside. So he'll probably get some run early in the season in non-conference before you get into the season. You'll see where that is, and they'll judge where he's at. But you could see Nick Cody, who is 6'9", and, still in high school, so could grow. He had an injury this year, so he'll be coming off a little bit behind, but they'll probably try and see if he's able to play in that big position during non-conference. But Kaluma can play a little bit bigger, can bump around with some guys. So, can guard in there. He's not going to be able to guard your 7-footers, but for teams that want to play big, Kaluma can come in, or people that want to play kind of small ball, but have a 6'10" guy, he can bump with them enough to keep you in the game and not let them just run rough shot and be dunking the ball every single play. And it leads to this Texas team where you were asking about what could they become. And,
like?
I think this is a team that could run pick and roll pretty well. A lot of guys cutting to the rim. You have a lot of guys who are good finishers. Tromo, Mark, or Kaluma, Caden Shedrick, Pope are all good finishers around the rim. So I think you could see that some. I think you're going to see a lot of ball with Trey Johnson in his hands and kicking the ball back out. Tremo, Mark, and Kaluma are not going to be necessarily the best shooters, but we'll see how they improve in the offseason. But I think you'll see a lot of cutting to the basket, back cuts, those types of plays, trying to get guys something headed downhill and to the rim. They did not attack nearly enough last season. Max Asmus was not somebody who wanted to drive in. He was a little bit smaller. This lineup's a much taller lineup for Texas. They're not huge in the front court, but instead of having a 6'2", 6-footers playing, Jordan Pope, I believe, is 6'3". I'm just saying off the top of my head. I think I have it pulled up here. So let's see what Jordan Pope. 6'2" is Jordan Pope. So you bring him in. Kaluma is 6'7", who you've brought in. You have you're also going to be playing Tremo Mark, who's 6'6" in that lineup, and Trey Johnson is about 6'6" as well. So you don't have that real downfall of size where your shortest player on the court is still an inch taller than your second tallest player or second shortest player last year with Tyrese Hunter and Max Asmus both being about 6 foot. So you don't have that problem that you had last season either. Defensively, that should be a big help as well.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. I love that you saw it. This team's going to get downhill, start playing downhill, getting to the basket, finishing at the rim too. It means a much more longer, taller, more athletic team. Are they more athletic too overall?
Yeah, probably. Okay. I mean, they were somewhat athletic.
Team could run a little bit.
Yeah, they could run last year as well. I mean, they're not any less athletic. Let's put it that way. They're still going to be able to. We don't know what Jamie Vincent's going to be able to do. He's a big question athletically. From the highlights I've seen, he's a high schooler though, so you don't really know. But I haven't seen him. I don't know if that's his drive or if he's just doesn't want to. He was one of those guys. He's 6'11", and I saw a lot of layups. Kind of makes you question if it's athleticism or if it's just
why not
that he doesn't want to go in there strong.
Yeah.
So guys like that, I'm not sure about. He's not going to be playing a ton, but Nick Cody can run. Trey Johnson can run. Jordan Pope can run. Tremont Mark is known for it, what he did at Arkansas last year. Kaluma can run. Caden Shedrick, we can get up and down the court as well. So that starting five especially can. And then we'll see with Jason Kent, I believe can. They're going to run a little bit smaller. So that in itself tends itself to being able to get out and run.
Good stuff there. All right, we come back. We'll get into Rod's rant of the day. On the other side, we'll talk about the connection between this NFL offense and Sark's offense and why Sark should explore that connection a little bit deeper. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Let me tell you about Dr. U and his wonderful team because they've done a great job with all of the issues that I've had. I've had several of them. I had to have all my wisdom teeth removed at one point. I had to recently had some fillings done. Made sure that everything was okay there. I had to do a deep cleaning just to make sure that everything was okay. So I've been to Dr. Eckert's office, Dr. U's office, probably about 3 times in the last couple of years or so, and they've always done a great job and a marvelous job, no matter if it's something routine like just getting a routine checkup or just a routine cleaning, or if it's something pretty serious like having all your wisdom teeth removed. Either way, you're in great hands with Dr. Eckert. So whether it's general dentistry or teeth whitening or dentures or porcelain crowns or veneers or dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, root canal therapy, whatever it takes to make sure you're getting the best quality dental care available, that's what Dr. Eckert is all about. Also, if you been a little insecure about your smile, and all this time maybe you've been thinking to yourself, I want to do something about my smile. I would like to have more confidence when smiling, because the quality of your smile can truly affect the quality of your life. That's a Dr. Eckert line. That he can give you a brand new smile right now in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants, no time spent without teeth. You get temporary fixtures until you can get your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. It's a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, or you have dentures, or you've been told you have to have dentures, this is a revolutionary alternative to dentures. So if you've been told that, call Dr. U today. It's a complimentary consultation. You got nothing to lose, but so much to gain. We're talking about a brand new smile in just one day. I know it sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. U, because a confident smile can truly change your life, and Dr. U wants to change your life for the better. So give him a call, 512-345-3166, 512-345-3166, or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's rant of the day. So I was doing some research on actually some NFL research, and I found a little nugget about Mike McDaniel. And it turns out when Mike McDaniel was crafting that offense around Tua, and trying to figure out the best way to maximize Tua's skill set, he did some research, and it makes sense. He studied Tua's college film, and studied some of Sark's concepts that were used with Tua, and apparently a lot of the offense that he has now, some of those concepts were translated into, and he incorporated them into his offense just because it makes sense, right? So some of those first read, wide window throws, some of the same RPO concepts. And I thought that was interesting. And then, I thought about Sark always, discussing how he looks to the NFL for inspiration for his offense, and particularly the Shanahan clan, the McShanahan offenses, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. He talks about going to visit those guys and Not stealing concepts, but essentially being inspired by their ideas and using a lot of those concepts in his own offense. And he hasn't really talked about Mike McDaniel like that, though. He hasn't talked about the Dolphins in that way. And I'm sure he probably considers all the McShanahan coaches on there, but he talks specifically about Kyle. He talks specifically about Sean McVay. He's had those guys come actually speak at clinics, so we know they have a personal connection. But I mean, just through degrees of separation, I mean, Mike McDaniel's right there, and he was at the pro day this past season or this past off season, and I wonder if he'll be the next one the next kind of McShanahan coach he brings in as coaching clinics to talk, because not only stylistically, because we know he studies the NFL, stylistically, he can study what the Dolphins are doing. I think he needs to explore that relationship even more, especially since, there are connective concepts between the two because of what he studied trying to adapt that offense for Tua Tagovailoa. And the one thing I want him to really explore with Mike McDaniel's offense is how much he uses pre-snap motion. It's unbelievable because, first of all, everybody's using pre-snap motion, but not extreme, not at the extreme rate, I should say, of the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are using pre-snap motion on 82% of their plays. The 49ers are second at 70%. The Rams are third at 69%. The Green Bay Packers would be fourth at 64%. You see a trend here? These are all McShanahan coaches. They're all from that coaching tree. And Sark, although Sark's offense is really progressive and really modern, Sark doesn't use pre-snap motion as much. I think at one point he was above the average, but now he's right at the average. The NFL average is right around 50 to 55% right in there, and that's where Sark is. Sark is at 55%, around 50%. And I think if you look at all the advantages and look at all the metrics, man, it just says you should be using more pre-snap motion. Sark should be using more of it. And motion at the snap, which is basically a guy when he's in motion right before the snap, like right at the snap. He's on the move while the ball is being snapped, not settled, and he's not motioning from one side of the formation to the other and being set again. No, it's a guy that's in motion at the time of the snap. They do that, Miami Dolphins, at 68% of the time. They lead the NFL in both of those categories. And my suggestion would be Sark should explore that connection deeper that the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel offense has with his, because he should steal that philosophy. He needs to become an extremist when it comes to the motion. I went and looked at NFL numbers 2023 and 2021 with and without pre-snap motion. With pre-snap motion, quarterbacks passer rating 92, touchdowns to interceptions 4.5 touchdowns to 2.1 interceptions. Without pre-snap motion, passer rating drops to 87. Touchdowns drop from 4.5 to 3.9. Interceptions rise from 2.1 to 2.4. So interceptions increase, touchdowns go down, and you're less efficient. With pre-snap motion in 2023, that was 2022. In 2023, it's at 94 passer rating, and without it, you're at an 85 passer rating. It makes your quarterbacks better the more you use it. How about this little nugget? When play action pass and pre-snap motion are used in the same play, 103.8 passer rating on average. It's just more cheat codes, which Sark's offense is just an amalgamation of them, of cheat codes. And so I've been tracking it for a while because just being a fan of the Shanahan clan. And I think for Sark, that's when he started upping a lot of his pre-snap motion, was when he was in the NFL in 2017 and 2018. Following Kyle Shanahan, he started using a ton of pre-snap motion too. I just don't think he's used enough of it. I think he should use more of it. So in 2020 at Alabama, his Mac Jones had 0 incompletions when he was targeting a player in motion prior to the snap or at the time of the snap. 0 incompletions. He was a 100% completion percentage. And I've noticed that the completion percentage is one of the advantages of targeting to motion, guys who were in motion prior to the snap or at the time of the snap. 2021, 81%, 2022, 81%, completion percentage. In 2023, it dropped a little to 78%, damn near 75%. Your first down, your yards per attempt, you were over 8 yards per attempt in 2021. You're over 10 yards per attempt in 2022 and 2023 when your target players were in motion. Explosive play rate last year was above 20%. Your first down rate last year above 20%. Your first down rate and your first down rate in 2021 was above 20%. Actually, it's above 30%. I mean, it's just the more you use it, and as I've tracked it, it's a really successful way of just identifying coverage, confusing the defense. Brian Harsin used to always say that motion causes emotion. You want defenders making emotional decisions, and motion causes them to be emotional because they freak out. They start. It changes the strength of the call, and then usually responsibilities and roles have to switch. And usually that's only one check for motion. You can't have multiple checks on a defense for motion. I can't. There are certain rules to defense, and I can't have rules that conflict other rules or they counter. You can't. You don't have one rule like, hey, you know what? We're gonna bump this. We're gonna bump this motion. So when this guy motions over, we're just gonna bump it. We're gonna call rock and roll it. This is what Philadelphia tried to do against Kansas City in the Super Bowl a couple years ago and failed. All right, we're going to rock and roll it, and then the corner or DB on the other side of the formation will pick up the jet motion across the formation. Right, that's like a rule you do, but you can violate that rule like the Kansas City Chiefs did. Right, how'd they violate that rule? Well, you violate that rule, when you don't necessarily cross the formation the entire way, and then you leave that DB or those defenses in purgatory. Or you can do a whip route and also kind of change the role and change the coverage responsibility for the defensive back. So there's just a lot of different ways you can cheat it. And that's why motion, it reveals exactly what the coverage is, what the coverage responsibility is. And once you figure that out, like I said, there's only one check. You're not gonna have one way to defend it. Now, you may on the next series of drives, coach may change it, but most of the time, a team has the same way to defend motion, or at least to account for it. Man, once you learn how to account for it, you break their rules. Once you learn the rules of how they're going to account for motion, then you violate those rules. And everything. I went and looked at the NFL numbers for success rates and for yards per carry. When you have at least 2 players in motion, your success rate is over 50%. Yards per carry is 4.5 yards. When you had 3 or more players in motion, because sometimes Sark will do that, shift a running back in the backfield, motion a guy across the formation, then have another motion, 3 different players, 67% success rate, 6.8 yards per carry. With 0 players in motion, 4.2 yards per carry, 45% success rate on plays on average. It's no matter which way you look at it, from whichever metric you are trying to document it, plays are more effective, players are more effective on offense when you use more motion. And so use more of it. And for certain, I would just say get above 55%. All the best offenses in the NFL, all the ones he admires, Shano's at 70%. The Sean McVay's at 69%. Green Bay and Matt LaFleur, they're at 64%. Kansas City's at 62%. We just told you Miami's at 82% leading the league. Detroit is a great offense. They're at 61%. I mean, 50. If you're at 50 to 55%, you're being moderate. You're being conservative. Sark is anything but conservative. So I think he needs to be more aggressive and needs to be more extreme when it comes to using motion. My guess is that you will get it this year. You do have a veteran quarterback, but you got a lot of new pieces around him, skill position wise. And sometimes it's tough because those guys don't necessarily know the offense, are familiar enough for them to use a lot of motion and shifting those guys around. It was probably easier when you had JT Sanders, who had been there for 3 years in the offense, and a Jay Witt and Xavier Worthy, who have been in the offense longer. So you can just say, "Oh man, you know this. You know they know the lingo, they know the language, they know the terminology, they know exactly, they know all the different positions on the offense." I'm not sure these young guys, not young guys, but they're new, the new guys, because they're veterans, but from a different system. I'm not sure they can acclimate that quickly. So I'm not sure you will get maybe later on in the season he'll start to increase that pre-snap motion, but I bet early on it's minimal once again, just because you have so many new guys and you don't want to throw too much on their plate too soon. So
Yeah.
there you go.
And I mean, you're also throwing in this of the beginning of headset communication and more
Yes,
confusion that adds into that while you're
that's
talking to
yeah.
Quinn early in the season, and like just figuring out how Quinn's gonna react to the headset communication in game. I think
Mhm.
you're at least one game of that, of making sure that there's not a point where where you go back and watch game film and try and look at his eyes and see when you said too much and when you said too little,
Yeah, that's a good
and you
point.
see when his eyes. So when you're doing that, and then he's trying to read some, and then someone runs across, and Sark goes, no, 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 actually do this. Like they
Yeah,
just
no,
switch.
you're right. I didn't think about the headset though. You're right. I didn't even that didn't even play a role. But that could be it could be a huge help or it could be a huge hindrance. I don't know which one.
Yeah,
Depends on how you and your quarterback communicate. You're right. That could be chaos. The quarterback could love it, or your quarterback could be like, I don't really like coaching my ear like that. And I hope he would. I hope he'd be honest with coach. Like, hey, coach, can you just do it? Give me a couple of words of advice and then kind of let me go, because that's kind of what I'm used to. Because you're right, that's a brand new thing. Now some players might love it, but I wonder if some players would be like, oh man, that's a lot. It's a lot on my plate. I got a different process, and coach has a process, and I'd rather go with my
and
process.
Sark's mentioned it several times when he's been asked about it, of him understanding, I want to say everything. I'm seeing it, and I want to be able to get in the headset and
Yep,
say this, and this. Because if I say that, I'm going to blow his mind every play, and then he's going to be looking for 14 different things, forget his
exactly.
progressions, go through. And so I can't overload him with that, because I'm then asking him to do my job and his job.
Exactly.
So he's
Totally
probably
agree.
talked about where he has to get better, and he was working on that in spring, that he was working on the communication and how much can I say to him that works before it's too much.
Agreed. Yeah.
And so
Yeah, it's
that's,
gonna be, and he's used to it. He played in the league, so hopefully that helps him. His time in the league
yeah.
with Sark, he did that in the league a little bit, so at least it's not foreign to him, but it will be very foreign
Yeah,
to Quinn.
that's when you add in the pre-snap motion and things start moving while you're doing that.
That's true. And listening
And
to coach is
then I mean, imagine
yeah.
that one of running pre-snap motion, the whole offense moves, and the last thing Quinn hears is, "Wait, no!" and the headset clicks off.
What the? What the? Yeah, it's like yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I never thought about it, but that could be chaos. And I just think you got to be succinct, and you guys you should have almost inside terminology about it, so you can be succinct and quick, and where you won't have to overload them with
Yeah, and I mean, and you also got to
so
remember,
much
you're
information.
playing week 2 or week two in Michigan, where it's going to be
It's
really
gonna be
loud and
yeah,
hard to
real
hear.
big.
So there's part of that. You're going to be
Yep,
playing last week of the season when you're going to be a little bit more comfortable at Kyle Field, where it's going to be real loud.
it's gonna be real loud, man.
According to
That's
EA
gonna be
Sports, the loudest.
that'll be loud. Honestly, Kyle Field will probably be louder than Michigan.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's just because
they
it's a
don't like
rivalry,
us very
man.
much right now.
They hate Texas right now. Well, they've always hated Texas, but now the vitriol is at an all-time high. It's at a peak. All right, there you go. Some Texas football conversation. Hopefully, Sark will be using more of the pre-snap motions and motion at the snap. All right, we come back. We'll get into what the facts, what the stats. We'll share some of those with you on the other side. Then next hour, we'll get back into some NBA discussion about Bronny James being drafted by the Lakers. No surprise there, but a little surprised by the blowback. And we'll also get into Texas basketball, Texas men's basketball latest acquisition. It's a big one. Could really change the fortunes of this Rodney Terry team. We'll talk about that coming back on the other side. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you, we know traffic in Austin, it can be brutal. But one thing you have to know about is that if there's a lot of traffic in Austin, that means people are moving Austin. The city continues to grow. The city's thriving. So it's kind of a good thing. And one thing you may not know, and you may be driving by one of them right now, is that many of the iconic landmarks that make this city so unique and special were actually built and constructed by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local Union 482 don't just go to the office; they're the ones building the office. So if you looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or you're looking for a refreshing career change, or you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482. And right now is a great time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now, become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So to apply, just go online today at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. Mm-mm. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to what the stats. Biggest fact of the day, no question, is about LeBron James and Bronny James becoming the first father and son duo to be in the NBA at the same time. Now they are teammates on the Lakers. So I didn't even know that. So there's never been a father son duo just in the NBA at the same time either.
No, I mean, because you're
Okay.
talking about NBA career. If you were to have the kid when you were 18, you'd still have to be 36 and they'd have to enter the league at 18.
Okay.
And that's already time gap wise really hard that a lot of NBA careers don't last until you're
Don't last
40.
that long.
And so that's even if you had the kid really early, it still takes a while for them to get there. It just so there's been definitely generations. I mean, we know like the Barrys are probably one of the most famous generation to generation players, but no, not at the same time. I mean, it doesn't happen a ton in any sport because that you're basically saying 18 years old is a long career. And that's kind of where you're roughly having to be.
The Ken Griffey Jr. What was the age gap there?
I mean,
Ken Griffey and
it was probably Ken Griffey
right?
was at the end of his career at that one, and Ken Griffey Jr. was a phenom who came up early, and that was still probably 18 to 20 years.
Yeah.
But I know Ken Griffey Jr. said that him and his dad were going to be at one of the games. They were going to come
One of
see
the
it.
what LeBron James and Bronny
Yes.
games. Really? That's
Well,
already been out there.
they said that before Bronny got drafted. He had said, if this happens, then me and my dad will be at the game.
Oh man, yeah. Because I guess that's the only other time it's happened.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you if it's happened in hockey,
Or soccer or something.
but in football, there's no way it's happened.
No, football, it wouldn't.
Because you also say you have to be 3 years out of high school, so you have to be.
Tom Brady would have been the only one that possibly could have done something. It would have to have he had to have a kid like real early in his career, like, and then that kid, the odds, he's the only one because you would have to have. There's no way. NFL careers are way too short.
Well, that and you
basketball,
throw in.
I would have thought basketball somewhere down the line it might have happened just because guys can sit on the bench for a while. You can have a 15-year NBA, 15 to 18-year NBA career, just kind of sitting on the bench. I thought somebody might have.
But
LeBron's a different level. He's thriving at that age.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. I mean, you could technically, but I mean, again, you're talking about probably having to be 40 years old doing that. So even if you're like most guys that are aging in the NBA and pushing up are like 36, 37, and especially back in the day, that was like 35. That was an aging guy. You didn't have as many 40-year-old players because people didn't take care of their body that way. And there just wasn't as much science behind it as there is now. But it's never happened. But I don't. Yeah, in football, you also remember 3 years out of high school to get to the NFL. So that adds on 3 years onto the age. That'll never happen.
Football has no shot at ever doing it.
Well, and they do now because some quarterback could play until they're 45 with the science and health and everything that technically somebody could, but I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, like I said, Brady would have been the only person that had a shot at it potentially. Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, no, I take that back. Like a long snapper,
a kicker
could do it. A kicker and a long snapper actually could do it. But if a kicker had a kid, but if a kicker has a kid, he's probably going to be a kicker.
So you're going to take your team? You're going to take your job?
Well, no, I'm just saying,
like, job.
Well, you think about it. I mean, he's a kick. You talk about the genes are a big part of this. That's why we talk about the NBA. You got to have a kid that's tall enough to play in the NBA.
You're only keeping one kicker on the roster, so you're never going to be on the same team. He's going to take your spot.
It's what I'm saying. You're never talking about just playing in the league at the same time. If you had a kicker could do it because kickers play like 20 years. 20-some years. So a kicker may be able to do it one day. There you go. That's the only hope you have. Kicker or long snapper. Everything else, you're done. All right, there you go. Fact of the day. We'll come back. We'll discuss that a little bit. We'll discuss nepotism, whether that's a big deal in the NBA. Woj says it's everywhere. It's all over the NBA. What's the big deal when we're talking about LeBron and nepotism specific to him and Bronny? We'll get to that. We'll also talk about the latest acquisition for Texas men's basketball, Arthur Kaluma. Big news on the 40 acres there. We'll also get to some Texas football conversation going behind the Burn Orange curtain. They hired a new assistant, maybe related to the new NCAA rule, which allows for unlimited staff who also can have on-field instruction. Now that's part of the new rule that has been passed and approved by the NCAA. And it seems like Texas may be stockpiling some of those coaches to try to get that advantage. We'll discuss that when we go behind the Burnt Orange curtain. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Rivers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a 512 Friday. That's when my man Patrick, the co-host on the show and the Idillionaire, he plays a lot of great jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that we have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Tomar and the FCs playing Friday and Saturday at Seaboys.
I like that. There you go. Appreciate Patrick on a 512 Friday. Always hooking it up for us. Also hooking up the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is already posted on X. If you want to go check it out at the Horn ATX. It's a video game related topic about the new upcoming EA Sports college football video game. Patrick, give the interesting results here. Give the folks the topic for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. Who should be the highest rated player in NCAA 25? We've already talked about the ratings a little bit. Oh, Quinn's catching up to Travis Hunter.
That happened fast too. Man, I thought Travis Hunter was going to run away with it. Not the case. He's still leading, but it's by the hair on his chin, man. Barely.
Travis Hunter's got 44%. Quinn Ewers at 42% right now.
Oh, man. Do we think Quinn Ewers, he is on the video game cover. Do we believe he's going to be the highest rated player on the game?
I do not.
He can't be higher. He can't be higher rated than Carson Beck.
No, but as we said, for the record, I did not say who will be. I said who should be.
Oh, so they're saying they believe
Quinn Ewers should be. Yes, they think he's better. Yes.
Like I said, I don't know. I don't know if he is or not. I have to go back to the tape. We'll see. This year, he's got a couple of things he's got to improve on. I think number one, getting deep into the progressions. We talked about that pocket presence. Even Circus brought that up. The deep ball has gotten better, so I'm not worried about the deep ball as much. A sack avoidance, something I brought up. He's got to get better at sack avoidance. Pressure to sack rates are a little too high, and I've seen it before, so I know he's got the capability. But I want to see him put the cape on with his team more often and take over games. And he's done it. Okay, he's got the ability to do it. But that's what they want to see when they are considering drafting a guy number one overall. And he's supposed to have that kind of ceiling, a 1-1 guy. So Quinn better than Carson Beck. Most of the scouts right now have Carson Beck as a top quarterback coming out in the draft.
They do.
But we'll see. That could change. That could easily change.
No, that's it.
And I hope it is Quinn. That'd be great. If that is, Texas winning the national title. Then. If he's the best quarterback in the country.
That's the hope. That's what we're going for.
If he's the best quarterback in the country, I think Texas is going to at least play for a national title. They'll make them win it. They'll play for one. If he's that good. But we'll see. I think he's definitely going to prove himself to be a first-round quarterback. Number one overall is tough. That means you're taking a leap where, the Joe Burrows took that leap, and, Caleb Williams proved that he could be that guy because Caleb Williams could take over a game. Put the cape on, as I always say. Put the cape on. Okay? They would want to see you put the cape on. If they do, if you do it enough, they'll be like, you know what? I'm drafting this guy number one overall because I know he's got it in him to be remarkable and to be extraordinary.
And that is Quinn's got. I can't remember. I don't have the stat, but there's a stat of what his completion percentage is when he's behind, and it's a remarkably good completion percentage. I know of when
I can find that for you.
Yeah, when he was playing from behind, which didn't happen a lot for Texas last year, but his completion percentage was really good in that.
The crazy thing is he hasn't. I know one of the things that scouts say they want to see more from him. They want to see him. Like he hasn't had many opportunities for a game-winning drive or fourth quarter comeback. Yes. Like I believe his record, if you go look at game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks, it's like 1-4 in those opportunities. He just hadn't really had a lot of them. And you don't really say one. Yeah, he has. I think he's like 1-4 in fourth quarter comeback opportunities in his career. Because first of all, Texas hadn't really been in that position, and usually when they're in the lead, he's not having to come back from behind. Texas shouldn't be there this year either. That's something else scouts like to see. Like that's why Caleb Williams, when Caleb Williams became the number one overall pick potentially, is when he formulated that comeback versus Texas.
Yep,
as a freshman, and then everybody in their mind went, "Man, this dude, he's got capability. He can put the cape on and just rescue a team." when they're at, when they're in a dire situation, he can just put the cape on and rescue them. If you're going to draft your number one overall, they don't know you have that capability, like what Joe Burrow did. Joe Burrow did against Texas. We saw it. What was it? Third and 17? What was it? third and 14, 17, whatever the hell it was.
3rd and 17 miles.
It was third and forever. And then Joe Burrow
forever.
puts that damn cape on and just,
Oh.
and we're like, what? You can do that? Yeah, we've seen this before.
Do that.
We've seen Kyler Murray do it. We've seen this, Longhorn fans. We've seen it up close and personal. So we know how it looks. And I think Quinn has the like I said, he's got that potential, he's got that upside, but I need to see him do it. I need to see him do it and have everybody jaw on the floor, because he just basically turned himself into the best quarterback like in the country. Like he transformed himself into being the best QB in the country. So yeah, I think Longhorn fans are hoping that is the case, because if he does, he plays that well. I agree. I think Texas is going to be making a championship run. They're going to be at least playing for a college football championship. All right. That's the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day. Let's get the headlines here. Let's get the Horn headlines first, and then we'll come back and discuss the Bronny James draft pick by the Lakers, and also discuss the Longhorns acquisition, the Texas men's basketball team picking up a big-time transfer portal commitment. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas basketball finalized their roster with a big transfer portal addition of Arthur Kaluma yesterday. The 6'7" Kaluma spent his first 2 seasons with Creighton before spending last season with Kansas State. Kaluma averaged a career-high 14.4 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists at K-State, and figures to fit in as the starting 4 for Texas in a small ball lineup with Jordan Pope, Trey Johnson, Tremont Mark, and Caden Shedrick. In the NBA, round 2 of the draft was held yesterday with the Spurs picking up guard Juan Nunez from Spain, who's expected to play overseas next season, and forward Harrison Ingram from North Carolina. The Rockets traded their pick to acquire 20-year-old wing A.J. Griffin from the Atlanta Hawks, and the Mavericks drafted Melvin Anhika, a 6'8" wing from France. The Longhorns' Max Asmith signed a Summer League deal with the Utah Jazz, and Dylan DeSuze signed with the Toronto Raptors Summer League team. In Major League Baseball, the Astros began a weekend series with the Mets tonight. Raniel Blanco gets a call for the Astros. Kyle Tucker, who's been out with a shin injury since June 3rd, traveled with the team, but a return to the lineup is not expected this weekend. And the Rangers lost their 4th straight game, 2-11 to the Orioles yesterday. John Gray got lit up for 8 runs in 5 innings, and a Garcia solo home run and a low single were the only scoring plays of the day for the Rangers. The Rangers hope to turn their luck around with Max Scherzer getting his 2nd start of the season, going up against Albert Suarez in a potent Baltimore offense. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right. Thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those. The big story yesterday, of course, was Bronny James, and it's the worst kept secret in the NBA, or in sports, actually. But Bronny James drafted by the Lakers in the 2nd round. And now we know, Patrick, why they moved the NBA draft 2nd round to the middle of the day, too. It was the debates. That because they usually don't have the debates that early. That's actually.
But they could have just still done it the night before and not moved it into a 2nd day.
That's true, but I think you're right. That's a good point. They wanted the 2nd day, and because of that, they ended up conflicting with the debate. They were like, "Well, there's no way we're gonna win that. I mean, not win that. We're gonna, even the few people we were gonna get to watch us, they're not gonna watch us because they're gonna watch the debate." So I think they just said,
I would have watched the draft.
That is true. Great point. You're like, no, I'd much rather watch the draft, man. All right, that's a good point. But yes, I think that's why they did it ultimately. But getting back to it, Bronny James drafted by the Lakers. So a couple of pieces of audio I want to play here. And I know we'll get into the nepotism conversation because it seems like Americans, sports fans, are really upset with LeBron James. At least some of them are, because they believe he's abusing his power and using nepotism to help kind of shape the Lakers franchise. We'll get into it. So, man, Patrick's got a passionate opinion about that. But first, I want to play these cuts of audio. The first one is Bob Myers. He was on a panel discussing the NBA draft, and he let us, I mean, this is inside information. So, and Bob Myers was the former GM of the Golden State Warriors, for those who don't know. And now he is working with, in an NFL team he's working with, I thought. Is it Washington?
I did not know.
Okay, I got to see. I thought he was like being a consultant or something like that.
He might. I know he's been with ESPN all season for basketball.
All right. No worries. So getting off track here. But Bob Myers, he revealed this little nugget about Rich Paul and the LeBron camp and what they might have been doing to help kind of manipulate circumstances behind the scenes. Not that they needed to do this, but Bob Myers claims that Rich Paul was making some calls.
Fine, I will say
15 seconds.
right now, Rich Paul's calling teams, don't take Bronny James. He's telling them, do not take him, okay? Saying, don't take him. If you take him, he's going to Australia. So he has a plan and he has a place.
But he's not telling the Lakers.
I don't know if he's telling one team.
Mark Tatum.
All right. How I'm sure this kind of stuff happens. How irregular is if that is true? Let's assume that if that is true, how irregular is that?
So the reality was second round picks did stuff like that's a little bit more common. First round picks, that doesn't happen as much. Second round picks, because the teams will say, well, we want you on a two-way deal. And they say, we're not signing a two-way deal. So I know the Spurs were calling everybody yesterday, and the reports were Spurs were calling teams up to, they're the 35th pick. And they were asking teams, are you okay signing a two-way deal? Because they didn't want to give up one of the roster spots, because one of the pieces, what Beal believed, they want to bring in a few more veterans into the team. And so if they keep drafting rookies with all these picks, they have no roster spots to bring in veterans anyway. So they were at a point where they didn't want to take up more roster spots. So they end up taking Juan Nunez, who they're going to stash overseas, which opens up a roster spot for them. So that's who they end up taking instead of a two-way player there. And Harrison Ingram can be on a two-way contract, meaning he can spend time in the G League and come up to the roster when there's injuries. But so it's kind of, that's more common that you have those conversations where teams are calling managers or agents and asking them, is your guy willing to sign this deal? Is he willing to sign for this? Does he want to play overseas for a year? Can we get him and stash him? Or all those kind of things. Those conversations happen. The Rich Paul thing, as stupid as it is, and Rich Paul is not endearing himself to anybody with his comments rightly or any of this. The reality was, how many people did we hear say someone should draft him and hold the Lakers hostage?
Yeah.
And Rich Paul was
Bill
basically
Simmons
saying, do not do that. Do not draft him and then try and get a good player from the Lakers in exchange, because you're going to hold him up. He's just going to go to Australia. Screw you guys. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
And that was what it was more.
Playing games.
Yeah, because no one was drafting him. No one was going to draft him and then hope that he signed with them and they're going to get LeBron. That was not really what anybody was going to do. It was more of, could an owner be crazy enough to do that? And in the NBA, anything's possible. And so I think that was more what that phone call was about, was don't try and ruin this kid's life and any chance he has to make it in the NBA because you want to be a jerk. Yeah. And you think, oh man, we're going to be able to get this. And then when the Lakers don't acquiesce to your needs, you just basically leave him on your bench for 2 seasons until his contract runs out. And then you've wasted 2 years of his life because you thought it'd be funny in a moment to make a move.
Yeah.
Like, so that's that. So that's what I think they're worried about. I don't think that would have happened either. I think most general managers understand that's bad business. Now you could see an owner do that, but most people understand that's really bad business. You don't want someone to do that to you. So you typically don't do that. You know, you need to have every team available for trades, all that stuff. So it probably was not going to happen, but I think there was more of that there was more and more rumors of people, whether they were founded or not, maybe taking him just to take him.
Yeah.
And just,
no, we talked about that yesterday a little bit. We were like, that would be the big story if they didn't take him and somebody else took him or something like that.
Yeah. So I think that was more of what it was than anything else. Was like, if you try and pull this, this is what we're going to do. He's going to go to Australia. It's going to void your and then he'll be able to sign with the Lakers next season. So just don't even do that.
Don't play stupid games or you'll win stupid prizes.
Yeah, and by the way, the fact that we joked about that shows you how valueless most people view these picks as.
That's true. You're right about that.
The fact that people are like, yeah, just throw away the 52nd pick. Who cares? Who cares about the 50th pick? We don't care one bit as fan base. Yet at 55, the Lakers pick someone at 55, and they are ruining the integrity of sports. America is no longer a country that I belong to be in because number 55, the Lakers picked their star player's son. It's craziness.
No, you're right. So might as well open it up to that because I want to play the Woj sound, then we can get into it because I know you got a passionate opinion about it. But Woj reacted to people discussing LeBron James and his influence with the Lakers, and I think they kept using the JJ Redick thing, even though obviously he's not fan, but it's just an example of LeBron's influence. They used the JJ Redick thing, threw that on top of the Bronny thing, and saying, "Oh, LeBron is holding the Lakers hostage, making them do whatever he wants them to do." All right. And besides all that, that's just what they were kind of the blowback and criticism on social media, to the point where Woj, he wanted to address. He's like, "Guys, come on." So his take is here about nepotism and how, listen, he knows it's something now that people are being able to see for one of the first times in the NBA level, because we've never seen an NBA player play with his son. Of course, it's LeBron James as well. But he says, man, it's rampant all throughout the NBA.
I don't want to hear these charges, people talking about nepotism.
No,
the NBA is full of nepotism.
Full of it.
The ownership level, front offices,
Absolutely.
coaching.
Yep.
I don't want to hear it all of a sudden because of Bronny James's father plays for the Lakers. Right. It is rampant in this league.
That is.
And he's right. It's everywhere. I don't know, was that 2 weeks ago? I was talking about the NFL coaches and how there are like 8 NFL coaches. I think it used to be the number was like 10, but since we have the latest turnover, I want to say now the number is 8. Well, NFL head coaches who have familial ties to a former NFL coach or a current NFL coach. I mean, that's just the way it is. The number is 15% of the assistant coaches in the NFL are biologically or related through marriage to a current or former NFL coach. I mean, that's just, and it's everywhere. It manifests itself in different ways. We talked about here on the 40 Acres how all the familial ties. Tom Haberstroh read a great article about the family legacies in the NBA, father-son legacies in the NBA, and how it is a positive data point now in evaluations when scouts look at players. If you had a father or a sibling or somebody really close to you that helped upraise you, and you also are, obviously striving to be a professional athlete, it's something that they consider. My point being, nepotism exists everywhere, as Woj just pointed out, and just manifests itself differently in different places, in different walks of life, and in different facets of business. And so we just never seen it happen as a player in the NBA, being able to use that influence to get his own son drafted. We haven't seen that before, but we see it all the time.
We have, and we've probably seen it before, but it was somebody in an executive role getting their son drafted.
Probably so.
And so we've seen those types of things before. But look, I mean, the easy example that people have been using, and it's true, is Giannis's brother in Milwaukee. Has been on the roster for 5 years. He's 31 years old. He is a joke every time. He's been part of All-Star Weekend festivities. Like, honestly, he's been at All-Star Weekend doing things. He's not good enough to be playing in the NBA. He's been on a roster, taking a roster spots for the last 5 seasons. They won a title with him doing it, so it doesn't cost him anything. It makes their star player happier. He doesn't want to leave Milwaukee, so I get why you do it. It's a star player and nepotism. That's what it is. That's where it happens. Jalen Brunson gets a contract with the Knicks. He was playing in Dallas. Normally, Dallas would have offered him more money than anybody else. Someone else would have offered him some. He ends up on the Knicks because his dad works for the Knicks. And so they bring in Jalen Brunson. He's a really good player. People like him, so it's not a problem. They bring in 2 of his college teammates, and Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart, and they bring that in because that's his son, and his son says, these are really good players. Let's put them on. It's working, so no one gets mad at it. Then they go trade 5 picks for a guy who's never made an all-star team, maybe never will, in Mikal Bridges, which is crazy a lot. I get it. I like the trade. I'm not upset about it. But at the same part, that's another college teammate of the son of an executive for the team. That is a nepotism move and a move to acquiesce to your star. They're nepotism and stars. That's what it is in New York. But because people like those guys, it's okay. We're fine with it. But 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, so it's a lot. That's a lot. And so this happens a lot. It happens all over the place. And then you want to talk about how you take over. You're fine with superstars. Tom Brady walked into Tampa Bay, asked for these players. They gave them all to him. He asked to get Bruce Arians out because he wasn't running his offense. They said okay, and they win. They won a Super Bowl because they acquiesced to the superstar needs. That's what happens in sports. That's what they did to LeBron. If they want to keep LeBron, you keep LeBron happy. You want to keep LeBron, you ask him what coach he wants. Do you really mad that they hired JJ Redick over James Borrego? Was that the guy? That was the second choice. Was the guy who got fired from the Hornets. I like James Borrego, but it's not like if he gets hired, that's a home run hire.
I'll take the mystery box.
Should they have paid Dan Hurley more than $100 million? $100 million? Yeah, they should have. But you know who didn't do that? Nepo baby. Jeannie Buss didn't want to pay up $100. Half the owners in professional sports now are Nepo babies. So it happens. True. It's rampant across the league. And again, I'll say this. If you want to be mad at the Lakers for something they've done in the past month, drafting Bronny James at pick 55, who cares? It's not really a big deal. It's going to take up a roster spot. It's going to make their star player happy. The rest of the team's going to be happy. It's going to show teams from now on that the Lakers take care of their star players the same way when they gave a max contract to Kobe Bryant when he was not that type of player anymore. The end of his career, they wanted to show they take care of their superstars. They're doing that for LeBron James. That's fine. He's made them a ton of money and won them a championship. I get it. You can get mad at them hiring J.J. Redick. It's a decent hire. Other people have looked at him as a coach. Other people have talked about what his basketball acumen is. He probably could have got a job within the next 2 or 3 years if he really wanted to. His name's been brought up in other searches. It's not that off the wall that they brought him in. I know he does a podcast with LeBron James. That helps you that you have a relationship with a star who has not been a fan of your last 2 coaches. So that's fine. You bring in a guy that you hope you don't have to fire and pay money to that he's gone. But the problem, if you really want to be mad at him, it's not either one of those. So they gave a three-sentence eulogy to Jerry West, who took them to, 10 finals? Something like that. He kept taking them to the finals. He then was a guy who orchestrated the trade to bring in Kobe Bryant. He's helped orchestrate championship Lakers teams as a player, as a general manager, and you gave him 3 sentences because he didn't necessarily bend over backwards for you when you were trying to pay him less money and didn't want to take control away from him. Those types of things. And so you give him be mad at that. If you want to talk about the systematic problems of the Lakers, it's a problem that they don't have respect for a guy that even when he can no longer respond, and you can say whatever nice things you want to say about him now because he's too dead to respond. You can't even do it then because you hold a grudge with a dead man. That's your problem. If you want to talk about what's annoying about what the Lakers did, that's the worst thing they've done in the last month. The Bronny thing doesn't matter. JJ Redick, great. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. They're not going to win a finals with whoever they hired. They're not a good enough team. They're too old. They don't have enough players. They're not going to compete with Denver and Boston and Dallas and Minnesota and now New York and Philly. They're not going to compete with them. They just don't have the talent on that team right now. So I don't get it. I don't get what I mean, I do. People don't like LeBron. So This is a problem because I don't like one guy. So I'm going to make everything else, don't matter how many other people do it, no matter how normal it is in society and how normal it is in sports world, we're going to pretend like this is now a problem because he did it. The guy I don't like did it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It does kind of remind me, because if they want to complain about nepotism, as we pointed out, nepotism is everywhere. That means you're not going to be watching a lot of movies because Hollywood is rampant with nepotism, politics, rampant nepotism. So you're kind of picking and choosing when you want to lash out about that particular, issue. It kind of reminds me. I brought this up earlier. The Public Investment Fund. I'm sure everybody remembers it. And then them, being the main driving financial force behind LIV, and it's a Saudi Arabian sovereign fund, wealth fund, right? That's funding PIF. And people were really upset with those players for joining LIV and taking what they call blood money. It was like, when you're taking the blood money, that's unpatriotic. These guys, they don't know exactly the overwhelming damage that they're doing to the brand of golf and to the American kind of culture by taking that LIV money. I mean, they were getting a lot of blowback, and it always struck me that same PIF fund, they give money to lots of corporations, Starbucks and Uber and Boeing and Walmart and Amazon. And there was never any mention of boycotting those companies or criticizing those corporations. It's like corporations could take the blood money, but the players couldn't take the blood money. So you weren't upset about the blood money infiltrating America. You're just upset that the players are getting the blood money individually. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if you're gonna be upset about it, be upset about the issue, and don't necessarily don't pick and choose exactly when you want to criticize that. If you're going to criticize nepotism, get on that bandwagon. You're going to be, I guarantee you, though, you're going to be worn out. If you're railing against nepotism in this country, you are going to be worn out because it's everywhere in every facet of our society, everywhere. I mean, you go look up Hollywood and you'll be shocked, actually. I would say like 20% of Hollywood, 20-30% is just kids of former Hollywood stars or execs and producers.
I mean,
That's all it is.
Like guys like Nick Cage and Charlie Sheen changed their name, or
Yeah, they changed their names all the time.
they
Yeah.
changed their names. They're not there, which it wasn't. Emilio Estevez changed his real name, so he didn't seem like he was Martin Sheen's son.
Yeah.
But guys like
Yeah.
that are successful in the world, they all change their name because they don't want to. They're like,
They
well, I
want
don't want
privilege to be attached to them.
Yeah.
Because that's what nepotism is seen as privilege, and now we have this big thing in society about looking down on privilege of any kind. You're privileged, and I'm not getting into that subject. I'm just saying that's what nepotism is attached to, and that's why now it's considered so negative. Oh man, you're a child of privilege, and it's like. Hey man, we all want our kids to be children of privilege. If I think that's the goal ultimately. Still, you want them to have obviously respect for everyone and be grateful. But man, being a child of privilege ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm trying to get baby girl there. It's hard though. It ain't easy. I would love for my kid to be a nepo baby. I would love for that. She's probably not going to have that advantage in life.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you,
and I'll
probably
say
not going to have it.
Yeah,
I'm not influential or affluent enough.
No, and by the way, there is plenty of it in Longhorn sports.
Oh,
you're gonna have to get real mad at the Longhorns for how many nepotism, recruitments, and everything else that have happened in this. We have no problem with it because it's great, and life legacies and family legacies are great part to have in your tradition. It's not a problem then. It's only a problem when it affects. Well, you could have drafted someone else. Like who? I'm serious, man. I watch basketball every day. I follow this. I've studied the draft for half a month before coming into this, and I was looking at players, and you were going in, and we went deep into it, and the players were getting drafted. Then I don't know who they are. I didn't watch any film on these guys from overseas, and this, or you're drafting a guy from San Francisco College and like stuff like that. You're drafting. I get it, but you're not drafting somebody that you think is going to be great. Now you can go out and say, does Dylan Dessou deserve a shot? Yeah, he's going to be in the summer league. And he's getting a shot where he's going to get a shot to go and prove it. Is he going to have to work harder? Yeah, he's had to work harder. He didn't get recruited to Texas because they had too many big men. And he had to work his way over to get to Texas. He wasn't in the starting lineup and playing big minutes and being the top scorer until Rodney Terry took over. And then he showed there what he could do and took Texas and helped take them to an Elite Eight. And his injury is one of the reasons they couldn't advance further. Dylan Dessou's worked his butt off to get where he is. He's going to keep doing it. And I wish him the best in summer league. I'm going to be watching, hoping he gets some playing time and does well for the Raptors. But that we get that those stories are going to exist whether or not Bronny goes 55.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, and nobody would care about that pick. We don't even watch the second round of talk about. This is the first time we talked about the second round of draft since I've been doing sports radio for 15 years, Pat. I'm not even joking. We never discuss the second round of the NBA draft.
Patrick watches the NBA draft. Patrick watches the second round. That's who watches it. Me.
Exactly. I was like, this is the most we've ever discussed the second round of the NBA draft. I swear it. And we're not even talking about the draft. We're just talking about one pick. Yeah. One pick. The 55th pick for Bronny. So
because we don't care that AJ Griffin, the 20-year-old from Duke that was drafted by Atlanta last year, was now shipped over and he's in Houston. No, we don't care about that.
Nobody cares about that.
We don't care that Juan Nunez, he's a good fit, but not a shooter for the Spurs. He's a really good playmaker, but they're probably going to keep him overseas. Harrison Ingram fits into that winning tradition from North Carolina, smart kid from Stanford. Fits into the Spurs model. We don't care about that. And I can't even tell you about Melvin Ahinkun because I don't know who he is because he's picked super late in the draft. He's a guy from overseas that probably is not going to play in the NBA, may never even make an NBA roster. I get it. Yeah. But I can tell you that I know about these other players and I don't. It's like there's certain players you just don't know about.
You know about Bronny?
Know about Bronny?
Yeah, that's a good point. Everybody knows Bronny's stats and stuff. They don't know anything about anybody else drafted in the second round. They're like, what do you mean? He didn't even. You see what he averaged? Points per game. He wasn't even a good player. It's like, do you know anything about any of the other players in the second round?
This guy averaged 16 points per game. And what? Well, I mean, it's a league overseas somewhere, so that must be a same competition.
Must be. Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, that's good stuff. All right, we come back. We'll let you know about the latest Texas hire for the football team, and we'll tell you about the latest acquisition for the men's basketball team, Arthur Kaluma. So we'll go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk some Texas sports when we come back right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to the Texas, get behind the burner curtain, talk some Texas football. All right, Texas made a new hire yesterday, and it's interesting. This is their second hire, I believe, in a week's time. They hired Bill Rees, the long time, almost 50-year NFL and college scouting, recruiting, and personnel man. He's been all around. Gave you his resume earlier. It's extensive. So you're talking about like 40, damn near 50 years of coaching experience. He's also been an assistant coach there, different spots too. And now they're adding Scotty Hazelton as a special assistant. Now, I don't know if he's going to be the special assistant to the head coach kind of thing, but he's going to be a special assistant, it says here. I went back and looked at his resume, and it's actually pretty impressive. I mean, he's coached every level of the defense, coached DBs, coached linebackers, coached D-line. And man, he's hopped around a lot, and I think it's intentional. I think he wants to go to different places because he doesn't stay too long at one spot. He was early on his careers at Fort Lewis from 96 to 99, North Dakota State from 2000 2001, St. Olaf 0203, coaching DBs there. Missouri Southern State 0405 as a DC, 06 Michigan Tech as a linebacker coach, leaves there, goes to North Dakota State, back I should say North Dakota State as a D line coach. That's probably his longest stint anywhere is probably North Dakota State. He was there from 07 to 2011, D line coach and DC and linebackers coach at one point. Went to USC for a year, left there, went to Nevada, was a linebackers coach at USC, went to Nevada for a year, DC there, left, went to Jacksonville for a couple of years from 2014 to 2016 as the assistant linebackers coach, left there, went to Wyoming for the DC there from 2017 to 2018, then went to K-State for a year to be their DC and linebackers coach, and then left K-State, and most recently was at Michigan State as their defensive coordinator from 20 to 23. So I think that's why he's here. I think they want somebody with a background on Michigan. Sure. Now, Michigan has lost a lot. They lost basically their entire defensive coaching staff. They lost their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, lost their strength and conditioning coach, so they lost a ton. But Sharon Moore is still there, and Sharon Moore has been running that offense, I believe, since 2021. He's been there calling plays. And he's been on the staff since 2018. But he's been a co-OC and a play caller there since 2021. And this guy, Scotty Hazelton, was a defensive coordinator at Michigan State from 2020 to 2023. So he knows Michigan really well. He's got the cliff notes. He's got a file already on him. And Michigan State, surprisingly, and Michigan was ranked as a top 10, top 5 team every year they played Michigan while he was there. They were 2-2 versus Michigan. Michigan State was. Held Michigan under their points total, their average points per game total in 3 of the 4 years. Now, this last year, they got mollywopped 49-0. And Michigan team was tough. Of course, they won a national title. But before that, Michigan State was giving them all they could handle. So I think he's here to be a special project man. If I had to put money on it, I'd say Sark said, hey, man, I need you. Now, he's going to be on the staff, and I think he'll help in a number of different ways once the season starts. And remember, now you can have unlimited staff, and that unlimited staff can help with on-field strategy and on-field coaching. They used to be restricted to just being in the film room and assisting in certain areas, but they couldn't be on the field and actually help and give instruction on the field. Now they can be on the field and give instruction. So this guy can help you coach the D-line. He can go help Kenny Baker coach the D-line. He can help, coach some of the DBs. He can go anywhere. He can be an assistant DB coach, assistant linebacker coach, assistant D-line coach, and just go help out with them in instruction on the field. And you can have as many of those guys as you want now. And Bill Rees, he can go on the field and give instruction too. I mean, that's now, like I said, allowed. It's been approved by the NCAA. So if Texas hires another coach here quickly, then they're definitely trying to take advantage of that new rule. I don't know if they will. Something tells me that they might, and just decide, hey, man, let's bring in a lot of, really overqualified coaches for these roles just because we can afford to pay them and other schools cannot. So I think he's coming in special projects. I would have him working on Michigan all off season long, sit in the dark room, watch Michigan film, give us everything you got on Michigan. You know them better than any of us. You coached against them Michigan hardball football for 4 years, and you were in a chess match with Sharon Moore, who was the play caller. He's not going to call the plays this year, I don't think, because he's the head coach now, but he was the play caller there. So it's still his offense, his fingerprints, his tendencies, and you know him as well as anybody. So I think that's what he's here for. I could be off though. But if he's not here for that, give him that role. Give him the special project of Michigan, because like I said, he brings in a wealth of knowledge that I don't think anybody on your staff has about Jim Harbaugh and that Michigan team.
Yeah. I
Right?
mean, you can throw in a little bit of a scouting it that you get those couple of games that Harbaugh was suspended last year too, where Moore was taking over as a head coach, and see any tendencies that are different from Harbaugh to Moore in those couple of weeks, and then, expound on that. And so there's pieces you can scout and try and find things, but yeah, for the most part, that's a good thing to have some more intelligence on one of these teams.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's all it is. It's just intelligence on the team. Like, you need somebody that can bounce, you can bounce some questions off of, some theories off of. It seems like a guy that's not only knowledgeable on the defensive side of the ball, but he would have personal familiarity with that Michigan program. I mean, you're a rival. Michigan State. I mean, so you got a rival of somebody to play Michigan, not just somebody that was in the Big Ten that played him. No, you're a rival that played him. Not the rival. No, Ohio State's the rival, but still a rival. So it's their Aggies, essentially. The Aggies aren't the rival for us. They're a rival, but still, Aggies know a lot about Texas program. Trust me. In terms of when they were playing them, and once again in the SEC when they will play them. So I think that's why that's kind of an intimate familiarity that Sark wants to be able to take advantage of. All right, let's get to Arthur Kaluma here. I want to talk about him a little bit because everybody on the 40 acres should be excited about it. But the basketball guys I know, like Patrick, say this guy could transform the season potentially for the Longhorns, getting a walk-in starter this late in the transfer portal process.
Yeah, I mean, that's a concept. When we say transform the season, it's not like you're getting, a top 10 talent in college basketball, but you're also adding a starter at a point in time on your 12th scholarship that you thought you were done, that there's not really guys available, and then to be able to still pull one out. Is a guy who was at the combine, the NBA scouting combine. He was going to enter the draft, decided to pull back out, go back to school for a year. Is between SMU and Texas. He decided to take what I hear is a little less money to come to Texas because he wants to win. He's a guy that improved every year that he has played so far. His shooting percentage has gone up every year. He averaged close to 15 points a game last season for K-State in the Big 12. So this guy knows what he's doing. He's 6'7", has a body on him where he can get in and take some contact, be able to bounce off of guys down low. He's going to add into that the type of offense that Tremont Mark can play as well, where you're going to be able to have guys cutting to the basket more and more, get down. He can rebound pretty well too, push that defensive side that when you play that small ball lineup, he is not a slight guy, so he'll be able to bump a little bit with some guys as they go in and and try and beat you up inside, because that is still Texas' main crucial flaws. They just don't have enough height, enough size down low. With Dylan Dessou leaving now, and Caden Shedrick is basically your 5. Other than that, you have Zirk Onyema and then Jamie Vinson, the kid you brought in from Oak Hill, who's a freshman. You also have Nick Cody, who is 6'9", I believe, coming in as a freshman. He probably doesn't want to play in the post as much. No kid really wants to play just straight up in the post. But that may be more needed depending on, when guys get injuries or foul troubles. You may need to have some guys step up in that big man role. But adding another starter to add in there with Jordan Pope and Tremont Mark and Caden Shedrick, and then you talk about the big freshman and Trey Johnson, who's supposed to be a big piece. It takes the ceiling of what this Texas team can do from somewhere where you felt like it was really a Sweet 16 Elite 8 team, unless Trey Johnson just sets the world on fire, to now being able to win some more of those matchups in tournament time because it gives you more offensive weapons. And what did Texas have a problem with last season when it would go down the stretch? They just didn't have enough guys who could score and create shots and be able to get baskets. And you just kept seeing that come over and over again. And when Dylan DeSue wasn't scoring, there was no one else to go to. Jason Kent's going to be a good player for them. Larry Drew is going to be a good player for them as well. That the guys they got from Julian Larry from Indiana State. Those two transfers are going to be good guys for them. But to add another player that you feel can give you 12 to 15 a game, that you feel can give you another option to get the ball in their hands and attack downhill, trying to get other teams in foul trouble, trying to get points. It's a big move for Texas to be able to bring in Kaluma.
Yeah, no, you're right. Just give you more options. And you remember that late down the stretch too. Texas just only had really two guys they could count on to be consistent scorers, and if one of those guys was off or one of those guys was taken away, then that was nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, and you're hoping
difficult.
That Kendall Weaver takes another step forward in his shooting. If he can get his shooting up to another level, he'll be able to stay on the court more. His defense and his energy was huge coming off the bench. You still expect that to be part of what this Texas team does. But if he can hit threes, and I mean, Kaluma is a guy, he's not a great three-point shooter, but, his three-point percentage has gone up year after year. So you expect him to continue to work on that. Shot pretty well at the combine. I think he was 21 and 25 on the set threes. So it's a really big get this late in the cycle. There's not a lot of guys out there still, and then a lot of the guys that are out there are guards. You're set at guard. You're okay at guard. You don't want to bring that in. And this lineup's going to be taller than it was last year. It was a huge problem for us. In matchups that would kill Texas last season were matchups where you had guards that were 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and Max Asmus is 5'11", 6 foot. Tyrese Hunter, 5'11", 6 foot. And, you had those guys that probably have halves in their height. That was those guys. And so you just were not as tall of a lineup. And, you had Kendall Weaver, who's 6'3", playing 3 for you at a lot of points in that game. So you were playing 3 guys under 6'3" in that lineup. You can't be doing that. Now you're able to add in a Tremont Mark, who's 6'6", a Arthur Kaluma, who's 6'7" in that lineup. Trey Johnson is 6'6", and in high school could still grow another inch. We talk about, high school players are not always he could still get up to 6'7", 6'8", if he continues to grow as he comes up there. That gives you more height in that situation. Jordan Pope is 6'2". That's your smallest guy on the court now, is 6'2". That is a big help.
That's crazy.
Getting to be bigger, attacking downhill, rebounding, all those pieces add up for you if you're Texas. And it's just a big piece. Jason Kent, I'm excited to see what he can do. The power forward from Indiana State, I think he's going to be a good piece for them. But adding in a Kaluma, who has played at a really high level at Creighton, played at a really high level at Kansas State, is a huge pickup for this Texas team.
Yeah, good stuff there. All right, no Longhorn fans are excited about that. All right, we come back. We got off the record on the other side. We'll dive into some wacky sports stories, also beyond the sports world. But we got to talk about this Kyle Filipowski story. It's weird, but was it weird enough to drop his draft stock? Apparently so. We'll discuss it when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn.
I want to say about our friends at Texan Windows. They're your new and replacement window experts in Central Texas. You can discover affordable windows and sliding glass doors. If you want to up your curb appeal of your home, getting ready for summer, there's new colors you can add, make it fit your motif indoors and outdoors. Get a look that you love. You can change the operation of your windows, maybe change some operable windows into beautiful picture windows. You want to add grids on your glass, remove grids on your glass, whatever fits your style, they can find for you at Texan Windows. But it's not just about the looks.
No, there are so many great advantages to getting new windows from Texan Windows. Yes, the aesthetic appeal is one of those great advantages, but also if you want to save money, I'm a baller on the budget, always looking to save money where I can. And brand new windows, replacement windows from Texan Windows can help with energy efficiency, which will save you money on your annual energy bills. All their replacement windows, all of their windows, period, come with argon filled double pane low E glass to keep your home cool during those hot Texas summer days when those triple digits are approaching, which we are in the midst of right now, or to keep your house warm during those winter months as well. It's that insulation and energy efficiency that will really help you save money on your annual energy bills. And also, if you're thinking about the safety of your home, the safety of your family, that's another great reason to get new windows from Texan Windows. I got a 8-month-old in the house, so we're always child-proofing everything in the house. Get really tough to child-proof those older windows. They don't have the latest technological advances in safety. They don't have the latest safety protocols, but you can be sure that Texan Windows, they are up on all the latest advancements in safety technology with their windows. So that's another great reason to reach out to our friends at Texan Windows. And my friend Patrick will let you know exactly how you can do it.
Get started at TexanWindows.com or call 855-55-TEXAN to get a hassle-free estimate by email or over the phone. Or you can stop by the showroom in Buda or Fort Worth to check out their in-stock windows. And man, there's never been a better time right now for the month of June through July 4th. When you make the purchase of 10 replacement windows, you'll be eligible to receive a free Blackstone grill. Get ready for 4th of July. Get ready for a great summer where you're looking out beautiful new windows from Texan Windows and looking out at your new grill that you get from Texan Windows. It's TexanWindows.com. Texan Windows, your Central Texas window experts.
All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into a little off the record here. So this Kyle Filipowski story is wild. Okay, so Kyle Filipowski was the Duke big man who was drafted last night by the Utah Jazz. The speculation is because this is all speculation and rumor. I don't know if any of it has been fact checked, but there are members of his family, the Filipowski family, that have taken to social media to try to clarify their side of the story. So the belief is that his stock dropped in the draft because he has a Mormon girlfriend who's older than he is. All right, she allegedly was said to be 6 years older than him. The mom claims, Becky Filipowski, at least she claimed on Twitter, that the woman's 28. That's what the mom says. The mom says she's 28 and not 26. 26, whatever. There's also the older brother, Daniel Filipowski. He said, I'm Kyle's older brother. This is on Twitter. He said, you all don't have a clue of the extent of the story that has to do with his girlfriend. There's a story that has been pushed under the table for nearly 2 years now. And he went on to say, basically, other than, make sure I get the tweet right here. He says, other than messaging, he said, if he's basically, other than messaging his brother on Instagram, I don't know how to get in touch with him, but look up and read on Mormon grooming and brainwashing, and you'll find some introductory details in there to connect some dots into the story that is going on here. So he is implying that she is a Mormon who has been grooming him since he was a youngster. The other report is, like someone's a report, speculation and rumor, is that she was his babysitter at one point. And that's where this thing started.
Yeah, it's a weird
story, man.
It's really weird because it's gold digging somewhat. It feels like it's somewhat gold digging, but then
they went to prom together.
Which is
they went
weird,
to his prom together.
Which is
they
weird
went to his prom together when she was 6 to 8 years older.
Yeah.
They went to his prom together, and the rumor is that she babysat, and she has basically told him to disconnect from the family, and he has done so. And there is no kind. And that's why the draft was like, something's weird here. Why would you cut your family off for this woman? Why
and two, like, he comes from a very athletic like all of his family plays sports, like at high levels.
Okay.
So he comes, and so it was a background that I think a lot of people were like, okay, this guy's got his head on straight. You know, he comes from this family, and they know what the challenge is, and he'll have this support group. And then as they dove into it, they're like, oh, he doesn't have a support group. He has one person who is going to be dictating what he does, apparently. And that's not great.
Wow.
It's a weird story. It, you know,
I don't know if it is. Like I said, I don't know. Are they talking about? Like I said, these are strong words, man. The grooming thing. Grooming is that's a term. That's like, if you're grooming. I mean, that's some of criminal charges. Then, I mean, if you're talking about somebody grooming like someone, because that would like somebody underage, that kind of thing. So I don't know when this stuff started. He obviously, once he went to prom with her, I mean, that's boom. He letting everybody know, hey, we're a thing.
I mean,
and she was so, but then you're 18 or whatever, so you're good. So my thing was, did this thing start at some younger age than that?
Well, and I mean, I get why an NBA team would be a little bit worried of, we're about to put you in a locker room where this is not going to be something that is not joked about to your face. This is not somewhere people are going to be telling you need to leave her right away, and we'll get you all these girls, and you're going to be on the road, and they're going to bring girls to you, and they're going to, like, there's a great short 30 for 30 short about AC Green playing for the Lakers.
The Virgin,
playing for the Lakers, and they're like, we're the Lakers, man. You can't be a virgin. And I'm assuming if he's with a Mormon that he's been with since prom, he's a virgin.
Or she's the only woman he's been with.
But they can't. They're not married, are they?
Hey, man, I don't know what they're doing. You're right. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if there's an honor code.
If she's a devout Mormon, I mean, Mormons can't see R-rated movies and don't drink caffeine. Their rules are pretty strict.
I know, but everybody's religion has strict rules. I don't mean you abide by them all.
I'm just saying.
Trust me, Catholicism has a lot of. I'm not a Catholic. My wife is. It has a lot of rules. They don't abide by.
I'm just saying, if she's gonna be devout, if she's getting in that world, then that may be part of it. I don't know.
It could be. No, you're right. I don't know either. It could be it. I'm talking about if you're that sprung, you would think you already had some.
You would think.
You would think. It's like, what is this attraction to this older woman? I mean, I know what the attraction is, but if it's like that, if it's more about the religious aspect of it, maybe he's just devout too. but why do you got to cut your family off? That's, I think, what people, it's like,
Yeah.
if you're cutting your family off, that would mean that your family disapproves of this and you don't want that constant negativity, affecting your relationship, because they're questioning a lot of things that are happening.
Yeah.
And if she indeed was the babysitter, that's a whole nother level of depravity, man.
And this is this worst case scenario for the family that he's going to Utah?
No, it's great for them.
But for the
Yes,
family, the family's like, well, now they're taking him to the motherland.
Well, exactly. He's like that culture. They're like, oh no, this is perfectly normal. I don't know what you guys are talking about. And it's
we
weird.
Got 6 more of them for you.
Honestly, are they into like kind of old school Mormon religion where he's into plural marriage and stuff?
I don't think so.
About
that would feel maybe too much, but I don't want to.
Hey, that'd be wild right there. If they're going that deep into it, you know what I mean? If they're like strict old school Mormons, where it's like,
I'll tell you this.
The sister wives and stuff like that.
Hey, you know what? I'll take this over the Karl Malone that the Jazz had on their roster and still love. So I'll take this over his alleged crimes. So
alleged. No, I think it's proof.
I know.
Look at her age.
I know. I just don't want
look at the age of the child and the age of. Oh no, it adds up. It's unfortunately it's Louisiana, and I do think in Louisiana, unfortunately, like the age of consent, and all stuff like that, it's very weird.
And but Utah embraced Karl Malone for many years and still does. So they'll embrace Kyle Filipowski too.
That's very true. That's a good point. All right, there you go. Man, that's a weird story. I don't know if it's inappropriate or illegal, but it's definitely weird. All right, we come back. We'll get into we got a Rangers report too. So Rangers fans, stick around. We got a Rangers report coming up for you. We'll also get to EA Sports ratings for our ratings and rankings for the best offenses and defenses in the new college football video game. Rod's rant will be about a connective tissue, some connective concepts that link an NFL offense and Sark's offense. And I think he should explore that connection a little bit deeper. We'll get into that too. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a Freak Flag Feel Good Fake It Till You Make It Ric Flair Woo 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. And 512 Friday is my man Patrick, the idealionaire on the show, comes up with all the great musically themed days of the week. But on 512 Friday, he plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Madam Radar, and they're playing tonight at Saxon Pub.
All right, there you go.
Very much the Fleetwood Mac
like
of
that.
Austin music there.
I was gonna say, I like this. I like the vibe of this song though. What's the name of this song?
Friend of a Friend.
It's actually, the vibe is pretty good, man.
No, they're really
cool.
They're a very talented band. We make fun that they're the Fleetwood Mac of Austin music because there's a brother and sister in the band, and then the sister is a guitar player, the brother is the drummer. The drummer is married to the bass player, and the singer is married to the other guitar player and singer. So
wow.
there's two couples and a brother and sister. They're all in that band. It feels like a recipe for disaster, but they're really good and a fun band to see live, and good people too. So
feels like it feels like that is very
feels like
very
volatile of stuff. So much,
yeah. Yeah, you're right. You got to find a way to make it work. That's good stuff. All right, my man. Appreciate Patrick there. Also appreciate him coming up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day. That is already posted at the Horns X account at the Horn ATX. Patrick, give the folks the topic for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. Who should be the highest rated player in NCAA 25 coming out here in a few weeks? It looks as if Quinn Ewers has overtaken Travis Hunter.
Wow.
46% for Quinn Ewers, 45% for Travis Hunter. Donovan Edwards, of course, is back taking up a deep third and fourth place. But yeah, you were getting most of the votes, over 90% of the votes going to Quinn Ewers and Travis Hunter going back and forth. It's fun
cooking, baby.
It's some home cooking there. You can say Travis Hunter is not, one of the best wide receivers in football. He's not one of the top 3 wide receivers in football. He's not one of the top 3 defensive backs in football, college football.
I would say it's probably top 5 to top 10 right now.
So
it's on DBs.
Yeah,
wide receiver. I don't know. He's probably top 20 or 50.
That's what I'm saying. So he's up there, but you may say he's not the best at either one. So that maybe not now. But the fact that he does both gives him that rise back up. So I can get why you could say he wouldn't be the guy. But this is, and also a lot of people want to rank Colorado lower because they were a 4-win team last season.
And I get that. And they don't like Dion. Dion's got some of that Dion quality about him where you don't like him. A lot of people, they love to hate Dion. And I also will say this, though, getting back to what you're talking about Quinn Ewers and Travis Hunter. If Travis Hunter, because I think Quinn could be potentially the highest rated guy in the game. I mean, he's on the cover. Got a chance if you're on the cover.
Yeah.
If Travis Hunter ever focused on one position, he'd be the best potentially at that in the country.
Yeah, I can believe that.
If he ever, I think more likely it'd be DB. But if he focuses on wide receiver, he can still be a top 10, top 5 wide receiver in the country. I mean, he's that athletic. But that's a great point. Why they probably won't give him the best rating on the game is because he's not the best at either one. He's not like Charles Woodson, who was the best defensive back in the country and then played some offense and did some special teams on the side. His situation is a little bit different. So that's a good point there. So I don't know who's going to be. I think the other question you threw out there was also a good one. Who's going to be the highest rated defensive player for Texas? I think about four different guys who could make an argument.
And that's the thing is I could believe that, the top rated player would not be any one of those 4. And it's going to be some defender, like a D lineman for Michigan. It could be up there. Someone who's a national champion last year and still on the thing. It could be somebody like
the corner from Michigan.
The corner from Michigan could be up there. It could be a guy on Georgia that they're really high on, like one of those teams. I don't think it would be anybody from Oregon, but maybe.
Defensively, I don't think so.
No,
not defensively. Maybe offensively they'd have some, but defensively, I don't know. Because Dylan Gabriel's going to be ranked really high as a quarterback. They'll have him as one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Yeah. They should let the quarterback rankings out too. I don't know exactly what they're going to release, but they're releasing a lot of the rankings and ratings. I would like to know because that'll essentially, that'll go. I wonder, will the highest rated guy in the game be a quarterback? Will it be? Because if that's the case, he'll be Beck or Ewers. And if it's not Beck or Ewers, and you said, then who is it? Or is it Ollie Gordon? He's the best running back? Because you got to be the best at your position to be the highest rated guy in the game.
Yeah, and
that's why the argument against Travis Hunter.
Yeah, and Donovan Edwards is on the cover, but is
He's
he
not
really
the
the
best
best running back?
No, I don't think so. Not in the country. I think they wanted Michigan representation.
Yeah.
They want to put a
No, I
defensive
agree.
guy on there.
No, I agree. I think that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they
that's what I
want to put a
just
defensive guy on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I actually a good point. Who's the best wide receiver in the country coming back? Is the wide receiver out of Missouri? Like who's the best? Is it Burden? Is his name?
Yeah, that'd be weird if Missouri had the highest rated player. It
No,
just
exactly.
doesn't feel right, does it?
Which means it's not going to happen. Yeah, exactly. That's even you just hit the nail on the head. Think about it. That's why Colorado is a top 10 offense and a top 20 defense in this game. Well, last year they won 4 games. Everybody's like, why are they rated so high?
We just got to figure out
people are going to play with them.
whoever the rankings guy, the main guy, whatever his favorite team is, that'll have the highest rated player. That's
Well, I don't, because I really don't know who is going to be this year. I think they'll do it. They'll have them tied.
They'll have them tied. I just remember that was always the thing with in the NBA games. Spurs win an NBA title, and the next year you look at their rankings, and they'd be like, "Well, I mean, Tony Parker's like a 78, and what was that guy? He had a pretty good season. He's a 72. You're like, oh, Danny Green ain't a 72, man. Come on, like he just won a championship." And they would just give him the lowest rankings possible. And then the Lakers would be like, well, I mean, I know he's the 12th man on the roster, but he's probably an 86. I mean, he's just, come on, man.
There's definitely some of that. I can see that in the game. I never played with the Spurs, so I didn't even know. I never played. I ain't gonna lie, I never played with the Spurs on any other video games. But I could see as a Spurs fan, I can see that hit you hard.
Every time you'd be starting a dynasty in NBA, and you have to be like, well, I get, but like my guy's actually good, and I got to train for someone who's not as good because his ranking is like 10 points better.
Hey man, I'm looking forward to playing, and I don't even play Madden, but a Madden where the Texans are good or a Houston team is good. That'll be good because I missed that window as a gamer. Like when I was playing Madden, Texans weren't good, and before that, hell, the Oilers, I don't know if they were in many games back then. Right?
Yeah.
Technobo, maybe. I don't know if they had actual teams like that. So I'm just saying, like, I missed my window for when a Houston team was good to play with them in the game. CJ Stroud. Now I may have to find a way to play
it would you probably had like a season or two with Hop and Deshaun Watson that was pretty fun to play.
Yeah, you probably did. I might have been out of my window though. I mean, when
it
was that?
Probably, it was probably out of your window. I'm not saying it wasn't, but that was probably. I'm just saying in general. Of video games, there's probably been a 2 to 3 year window where Texans were fun to play. Because other than that, they haven't had the quarterback that would have been fun to play.
No, exactly. Schaub job.
Yeah, you're not playing Schaub.
No, I'm saying, I'm just saying that's exactly. I'm agreeing with you. Like hell no, I'm not gonna play with Schaub. I got to play with any quarterback. I'm gonna play with the Schaub job.
And then he's just gonna throw 48 pick sixes. You're like, I didn't even see the defender. He glitched over there.
It became a verb, like getting shobbed. Man, you got shobbed.
Shoved right in the face.
Yes, got shoved right in the face. There you go. All right, so we'll get back to some other topics I want to get to. Speaking of EA Sports, they released their top offenses and defenses on the game. We'll get into that a little bit. Also, Rod's rant. If we don't have time for it, we'll table it. We'll put it into the next segment. There's also the Rangers report. We got to get to that, so that'll be coming up this hour too. But before we do any of that, let's get updated. Let's get informed. Let's get educated with the last Horn headlines of the day.
All right, Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas basketball finalized their roster with a big transfer portal addition of Arthur Kaluma yesterday. The 6'7" Kaluma spent his first 2 seasons with Creighton before spending last season with Kansas State. Kaluma averaged a career-high 14.4 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists at K-State and figures to fit in as the starting 4 for Texas in a small ball lineup with Jordan Pope, Trey Johnson, Tremont Mark, and Caden Shedrick. In the NBA, round 2 of the draft was held yesterday with the Spurs picking up guard Juan Nunez from Spain, who's expected to play overseas next season, and forward Harrison Ingram from North Carolina. The Rockets traded their pick to acquire 20-year-old wing A.J. Griffin from the Atlanta Hawks, and the Mavericks drafted Melvin Ahinika, a 6'8" wing from France. From the Longhorns, Max Abmas signed a summer deal with the Utah Jazz, and Dylan DeSuze signed with the Toronto Raptors Summer League team. In Major League Baseball, the Astros begin a weekend series with the Mets tonight. Roniel Blanco gets a call for the Astros. Kyle Tucker, who's been out with a shin injury since June 3rd, traveled with the team, but a return to the lineup is not expected this weekend. And the Rangers lost their fourth straight game 2-11 to the Orioles yesterday. John Gray got lit up for 8 runs in 5 innings, and a Garcia solo homer and a low single were the only scoring plays of the day for the Rangers. The Rangers hope to turn their luck around with Max Scherzer getting his second start of the season, going up against Albert Suarez and a potent Baltimore offense. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. I appreciate those. Okay, just really quickly, here are some of the ratings for the power rankings for the new EA Sports College Football video game. They got Georgia as the best, Georgia and Oregon with best offenses in the game. 94 overall, but Georgia's 1, Oregon 2, Alabama and Texas with 91 overall offenses. And I think Texas is going to have a better offense than Alabama, but maybe Jalen Milroe, they like him. I think Texas offense should be better than Alabama's offense, but Kalen DeBoer is an offensive, he's an offensive savant himself. So, and Alabama's got a ton of talent. They lost a lot, but man, Saban had that coverage so stacked that even after losing a lot, they still kept a ton of blue chips. Their blue chip ratio still has them among the top 5 most talented teams in the country, even with all of that. And I think Kalen DeBoer is just a hell of a coach. He ain't Nick Saban, but that dude can coach his you-know-what off. Hell, Sark can't figure out how to beat him. And Sark's a damn good coach himself.
That's the question with Kalen DeBoer is can he coach 5 stars and get them to buy in enough to do what he wants? But that's really a problem that's not as hard as what he's done in the past. So it's one of those things where you go, I can give you the hypothetical of what could go wrong, but in reality, I'm kind of grasping at straws at that one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that is, he's done more with less. Can he do more with more?
Yes.
That's not what we're asking.
Because not everybody can. There are people that have issues, right. And they when they lose the locker room because they're used to dealing with guys who have fought and scratched and clawed for everything. And a lot of these guys have been told that they're the greatest and they're going to the NFL. And when you're playing in, when he's trying to get people to show up for late in the season, they're like, man, no, I'm worried about my draft stock.
Oh, we just had a guy like Tom Herman was like that. Tom Herman's teams, remember how great they were as underdogs? They were awesome as an underdog because he was so used to coaching from an underdog perspective. He had been at Iowa State, been at U of H. Like he's kind of used to that, even though he had been at Ohio State as the OC. As a head coach, he was coaching from an under. That's why he brought U of H to, so much success because they were always the underdog. And he's able to win some of those big games. At Texas, you're not the underdog. You're the big dog. And he still was coaching with that mindset at times. That's why he was great when he was counted out, and he was great, in underdog situations. But, you got to win as a favorite at Texas. And you got to win as CDC would say, as Goliath and not David a lot of the times because you're going to be the favorite. You're going to be the hated villain. And for some reason, Tom Herman, I don't think he was able as a coach to really communicate and translate that to Texas players.
Yeah.
But he was great as an underdog. He still is. That's why he's going to be, I think he's going to be good at FAU, I believe he's at Florida Atlantic.
Yeah.
Because Florida Atlantic will always be the underdog.
Exactly. Well, it's a difference of at Washington being like all these top schools passed you by. You want to go prove them wrong by beating them. In Alabama, like, no, all those schools tried to recruit me. I got letters from there. There's no school that didn't send me a letter. We're good.
Yep, that's exactly right. And the standard there after Nick Saban, we all know how high that is. So they have the Longhorns here, though, as the 4th best offense, 91 overall. So the second tied for the second highest rated offense, but 4th overall. But more important, they got the defense 8th. So if you look at it, the only teams that basically they have a better defensive offensive combined rating in the game than Texas would be Georgia. Georgia's going to be the best team in the game, no doubt. They got a number 1 offense and number 2 defense. Or Oregon, because Oregon's got the number 2 offense and number 3 defense. Ohio State, number 5 offense, basically on this list. Number 1 defense. They got them as the best defense in the game. And then you would have Bama, which is 3rd on the offensive rating and 4th in the defensive rating. And then you'd have Texas. So the only schools that got better than Texas would be Georgia, or Oregon, Ohio State, Bama, and then Texas. So Texas will be fun to play with. Aggies, They got them 18th and 19th offense and defense in the game. Sooners 23rd offense, 12 on defense in the ratings on their power rankings. And the Michigan defense probably ranked too low. They got Michigan defense is number 7. Michigan defense should be toward being the best defense on the game. Honestly, they got them with a 90 overall rating, so it's the third highest rating, but tied for the third highest rating. But they got them 7th on their power rankings. I think their defense is going to be better than Notre Dame's defense, Clemson's defense. Hell, it may be better than Bama's defense too. So all the 90s, I think it'll be better. It'll be better than Oregon. I think of all the teams that have a 90 ranking on defense, Michigan's defense will be better than all of them because they got Wink Martindale there too. And by the way, the Mike McDonald who was there, and Mentor who was there prior to him, they all are from the Wink Martindale system. So they were running his system anyway. And now they got the guy that built the damn system to come run the damn thing. So they don't change any philosophy on defense. I think that defense is going to be really good. All right, there you go. I think that there you go. That pretty much sums up the ratings. They got the Longhorns basically looked at as a top 5 team. 16 teams basically had a top 25 ranking in both. Probably the most egregious. There's no Tennessee in the top 25 defense or offense. They got USC. This is how you know they are catering to their audience, right? They got USC as a top 16 defense. USC's defense was atrocious. I mean, that's why they making so many changes on defense. And Lincoln Riley is losing a lot of his clout is because he can't figure out the defensive side of the ball. And that's now part of, the reputation about Lincoln Riley. They have LSU's defense ranked, I believe, 2 on here. At 18, LSU just had a defense overhaul because Brian Kelly thought they were a terrible defense, so he fired all the defensive coaches and getting new coaches. So some of the stuff on it, Colorado, they got as a top 10 offense and a top 20 defense. Colorado's offense was 57th in scoring offense last year, and it was 133rd in rushing offense. Total offense was 78th. They were not good last year, but they know people are going to play with Colorado, so we got to make Colorado pretty damn good. Same thing can be true for you go look at Clemson. They got Clemson's offense high. Clemson's offense wasn't good last year. They got Clemson's offense ranked 10th. Clemson's offense was not good last year. They were like at 100 something in the country in yards per play allowed. I mean, yards per play on offense, I should say. So some of this is just, hey man, we know we're gonna be playing the game. We know the brands that are popular. We got to make sure that the brands that are popular, that will probably be the most, get the most engagement, or the teams that are going to be played with the most, that they are at least decent. And by the way, the teams will be updated, I think, throughout the season. I believe they update them now. Don't they get like updates real time? Like to update.
Yeah, they normally do that. Yeah, with Madden and stuff,
like,
they send you those, the current schedules or the current ratings. So, if a guy all of a sudden gets really good, his ratings go up. And if a guy, because, it happens in a season, you break out players, and it sucks when you go to play the game. And you're like, this guy's leading college football in sacks, and he's a 63.
Exactly. So that'll happen too. So, and honestly, the ratings will shift and change throughout the season, but that's what they have prior to the season starting. All right. We got Rod's rant. We'll table Rod's rant. Let's get to the Rangers report here, and then we'll get to Rod's rant on the other side.
The Rangers report is brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer.
All right, so disappointing outing for the Rangers in their last game versus the Orioles. 11-2 loss at Camden Yards. John Gray, remember, basically at 2 starts ago, he claimed that he thought he was tipping his own pitches because he thought, man, I was getting shelled, and he basically, I think, admitted that he thought he was tipping his own pitches because he got just shellacked against the Mets, I believe. He gave up 9 runs in 3 innings.
Yeah.
A little over 3 innings for the Mets. And he was like, man, that's the only way it's going down. I'm tipping my pitches. And sometimes as an athlete, psychologically, if you do have a bad game or a bad showing, you're not always trying to, make excuses, but you're trying to psychologically so it's not so damaging.
Yes.
There's a reason for it. I have to have a reason that I performed that poorly.
Yes.
It was this, oh man, you know what? I didn't do this. I didn't watch as much film, or I didn't prepare the right way, just so that your psyche and your confidence aren't just shaken beyond repair. And I think some of that may have been going on here. Or maybe he was tipping his pitches, but he did have 6 shutout innings after that against the Royals. So a lot of people thought, okay, he thought he was tipping his pitches, and that's what's going on. He fixed the problem. Then yesterday happened, and the Orioles hit him early and often. I mean, they just went ham on him. And then they lost 11-2, and now the Rangers have lost 4 straight games to open their 7-game road trip after winning their final 4 contests in their 6-game homestand. I mean, we were just talking about how great they were playing, and John Gray allowed 8 runs in 5 innings, so it was another bad outing for him. And 2 of the Orioles' 9 hits against him were home runs. He only had 1 strikeout, which is as a pitcher. I mean, yeah, you're losing, but you got to win some of those, and he was not winning at all. So now I guess the question kind of goes back to, was he tipping his pitches, or is this some other larger underlying issue?
Is he still tipping his pitches and the Royals just didn't get it?
They have the best offense in the American League.
They do. Baltimore's really good, but that's the question: is did he fix it in a game, or did the Royals just not look for it?
Yep.
Is that
exactly
the
right.
Royals weren't looking, and then the same thing? He thought he fixed it, but it was just the Royals didn't know what he was doing. So it could still be that. It could be that there's something else he's doing where he's leaving the ball out, or the you're not getting enough movement on the pitches. I don't know what it is for him, but yeah, it's 2 out of 3 outings have been really, really bad. And the Rangers offense just hasn't been playing well enough to allow for you to have, outings like that where you give up 8 runs. They lost yesterday in an outing where, the pitcher did okay and it still didn't matter. They weren't able to get the runs. Haney did okay. So I feel bad for John Gray, but they need to figure that out because they're still waiting to get DeGrom back, hoping that he can come back at some point this season and be added to that rotation. But right now, he is not looking great.
Yes, Rangers are 7 straight road loss, 17th in their last 21 games away from the Gilf. So they're struggling on the road. And how about this with John Gray? So those 2 outings, he's basically now suffered one of the worst outings of his career for the second time in those 3 starts that we just mentioned. And if you go, like I said, maybe he was tipping his pitches, maybe not. But prior to that, you go look at that start he had against New York. Gray hadn't allowed 8 or more runs in a start since August 10th of 2020, which came at Coors Field. So this rough patch comes on the heels of one of the best stretches of his career. He went from one of the best stretches of his career to now one of the worst stretches. Outside of the 2 blow-up starts this month, Gray has a 1.98 ERA across his other 14 outings, but he allowed 17 runs on those other 2. He had given up a total of 10 earned runs in his 10 previous starts before that Mets outing. His ERA has jumped from 2.17 to 3.77 in the 3 starts since. And like I said, I don't even know if he was tipping his pitches. I think maybe that outing has just kind of done something to him psychologically and kind of reset somehow. It happens. It's sports psychologists, they're there for. I think that may be what it is more than anything. So there you go. But by the way, Max Scherzer, how about this? Barring any issue leading up to first pitch tonight, which, I mean, that could always happen. They could decide to be more cautious with him. Max Scherzer is going to be on the mound.
Yeah, get his second start of the season.
Yeah. So if the nerve issue that causes like the soreness in his thumb and weakens his grip after his final, if that basically doesn't hinder him, I think you're going to see Max Scherzer. So that's really good too.
No, that's good. He pitched a really good game last, but only pitched 5 innings. So we'll see how far he can go tonight.
Yeah, he allowed only 1 hit facing over the minimum of the 5 efficient batters, as you mentioned. So look good against the Royals. We'll see how he looks again tonight. All right, that's the Rangers Report. We appreciate our fantastic sponsor for the Rangers Report.
The Rangers Report is brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer, your premier truck accessory dealer.
All right, let's go to the break. We'll come back and I'll give you my rant of the day on the other side. And then we'll talk about the connection between this NFL offense and Sark's offense and why Sark should explore it a little bit deeper. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's rant of the day. I was studying some NFL stuff, looking over some NFL notes, and I saw something that was intriguing about Mike McDaniel that at one point to really make Tua comfortable, Mike McDaniel went back to some of his college film and started to use some of the concepts that Sark actually used to make Tua a little bit comfortable and other quarterbacks and stuff like that. And that I thought it was interesting that they were remarking that Sark's offense was influential on Mike McDaniel in that respect, that he wanted to make sure that he had some concepts there that were friendly for Tua, the wide window throws, the first read wide window throws. We talk about the RPO concepts, a ton of those. And I found it interesting because we know Sark often talks about how he uses a lot of the NFL coaches as inspiration, most notably the Shanahan family and the McShanahan coaching tree, as I like to call it. And he does a great job of taking different concepts, different cheat codes, and some of their philosophy and incorporating it into his own. And he's been open about that, talking about, and he's had those guys to be speakers at his coaching clinics, right? He's had Sean McVay, he's had Kyle Shanahan, and he's talked about how in his free time, he'll go try to visit them when he can and sit in on practices and pick their brains a little bit. And he hasn't mentioned Mike McDaniel yet, but I think he should. I think he will soon because he admires the entire coaching tree. And one of the things, if Mike McDaniel is using some of Sark's concepts to help make Tua more comfortable and make it a more Tua-friendly offense, then I think Sark should use some of the cheat codes and use some of the different concepts that have made that Mike McDaniel Miami offense so unique. And the thing that makes it more unique than any other offense in the NFL, and they take it to an extreme, is pre-snap motion. They use more pre-snap motion than any team in the league. It's at 82%. Hell, the team that's second, the 49ers, is at 70%. Third is 69%. That's the Rams and Sean McVay. And fourth is Green Bay. They're at 64%. But you see there's a common theme here. They're all from that Shanahan coaching tree. And Sark learned it as well from when he followed Shanahan in Atlanta. That's when he started using pre-snap motion a whole lot more, recognizing the advantages of it, how it can reveal coverage responsibilities, how it can be an identifier for quarterbacks, really clean up the looks for the QB pre-snap. And so he started using it more, but he's still at this point right now, he's probably right around average, at least for the NFL teams. College average is probably a little bit lower. It's tough to find the college numbers. NFL numbers are easier to find. Now, the NFL average is around 50 to 55%. That's right where Sark is right now in pre-snap motion rates, 50 to 55%. And I think he should be closer to 70, maybe even hovering around 75 to 80%. I think he should ratchet up the pre-snap motion, kind of like Mike McDaniel has done. When you talk about pre-snap motion rates and then compare it to snap motion rates, that's motion at the snap, like basically with somebody still moving when the ball is snapped. Miami's at 68% of their snaps. That also leads the NFL. I think Sark needs to be more extreme when it comes to the pre-snap motion. Right now, based on his numbers, he's at between 50 and 55%. He's at 55% in 21, 55% in 22, a little bit below that in 2023. I think at this point he's become average to even conservative in that area. And if I was him, I would take it up another 20 percentage points into the 70s, because every metric and every data point that I have, whether college or pro, says that offenses are more efficient, more effective, and more explosive when using pre-snap motion and when targeting pre-snap motion. 2022 quarterbacks with pre-snap motion, higher passer rating, 91.7. Without pre-snap motion, it's 87. So, you get a higher passer rating. Touchdowns to interception ratio in 2022 with pre-snap motion, 4.5 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Without pre-snap motion, 3.9 touchdowns to 2.4 interceptions. Interceptions increase, touchdowns decrease without pre-snap motion. If you go look at 2023, passer rating with pre-snap motion is a 94. Without pre-snap motion, that drops down to an 85. So it makes your quarterbacks more effective. I went and looked at success rates when you get at least 50% of the yards needed for a first down on first down, 70% of the yards needed on second, and when you get 100% of the yards needed on third and fourth, that determines success rate. Success rate when you have no players in motion, 45%. You're averaging 4.2 yards per carry. Putting one player in motion, success rate jumps to 48%. Yards per carry is jumps to 4.5 yards per carry. Two players in motion, success rate jumps again to 51%, but your yards per carry still stay the same. If you put at least three players in motion or more, 67% success rate and averaging 6.8 yards per carry. So it helps the run game. It helps your quarterbacks be more efficient in the passing game. And if you go look at just tracking it since Sark's time at Alabama, 0 incompletions in 2020 when targeting a player in motion. 0. In 2020, you look at completion percentage for targets to motion. This is when you target a player that was in motion prior to the snap or at the time of the snap. 81%, 81%, 78%. If you go look at the yards per attempt, you're over 8 yards per attempt in 2021, 2022, you're over 10, 2023, you're over 10. First down rate in 2023, you're over 20%. In 2021, you were over 30%. I mean, whatever metric you want to look at. Explosive play rate last year, you're over 20% as well when you targeted players in motion. Sports Information Solutions said Xavier Worthy in 2021, his first year as a freshman at Texas, when he caught a pass, basically his yards per reception on plays with pre-snap motion, they said over 20 yards per reception on plays with pre-snap motion. When he caught the ball on the play with pre-snap motion, that was his average yards per reception. It doesn't matter what metric you're looking at. Look at them all. Examine them all. Go down the rabbit hole. I've already done it. Everything's more effective with it. That is why the best offensive minds in the NFL have decided to ratchet up the pre-snap motion. Mike McDaniel's at 82%. Kyle Shanahan's at 70%. Sean McVay's at 69%. Matt LaFleur's at 64%. Andy Reid's at 62%. Ben Johnson, the Detroit Lions, they're at 61%. You should at least be over 60%. And so I think Sark being under 60%, being under 55% or around there, that's a miscalculation by him. It's like I said, it's a little antiquated actually. And maybe his offense, he feels like he doesn't need it. This year, I even wonder if it'll be more of a hindrance than a help because you have so many new faces now have to learn the offense and the familiarity of it. And that's a lot of moving parts. And you could have a lot of pre-snap penalties if everybody's not on the same page. So maybe later on in the season, he'll increase those rates of pre-snap motion. Early on, I don't necessarily expect them to increase just because you have so many new faces. Last year should have been the year to increase it to like 70, 75% because everybody was familiar with the offense. Everybody were veteran players at your skill positions. JT Sanders, X-Man, Jay Witt, even in the backfield, Jonathan Brooks had been there for a while. Now, a lot of new faces at the skill positions. I don't know if Sark's going to trust them to have that many moving pieces. You'll still have your usual rates of pre-snap motion. I think you should increase to 70%, but I don't know if you'll get that early on in the season. So,
yeah.
All right, there you go. That's my rant. More pre-snap motion from Sark. He's doing a great job.
And again, we talked a little bit about earlier with the headset communication, but it also goes into getting set up at the line of scrimmage with plenty of time to do pre-snap motion. You need to have a little bit more time to do that. You usually don't want to be running up last second, but with the helmet communication, you'll probably see more huddles this year than you've seen in other years. They may still go with the cards, but if you're talking to just your quarterback, that means more huddles, which means a little bit less time to get up. And how quick can you get to the line of scrimmage to run that pre-snap motion?
Yep, that's good stuff. No, you're right about that. That's going to be huge this year. I have no idea how much it's going to help teams and even with quarterbacks and coaches, the communication and how they speak, at least how the coaches speak to them, how much information they're giving them during that little short window where they can talk to the quarterbacks. That's going to be really interesting to see who
and like how many huddles. Like, we've seen more and more that offenses want to go fast, but a typical NFL was you huddle up and the quarterback gets to play. He tells the team to play. Are you still going to do the cards on the sideline? Because one of the reasons they made this legal was to try and get away from Connor Stallions and people stealing your signals.
I think they're still going to do.
I think they have to.
Some of them are still going to do them on the sideline. Yeah, I think they're still because I think they want to go. If you want to go fast, the cards will be for the skill guys.
Yeah, exactly.
The quarterback will have his own stuff, but then they'll have a different card, like for the wide receivers and for the running backs, so they can still go fast. And the quarterback just gets special instruction.
But that's all going to be new to everybody on the field too. So it's just all the learning curve. Everybody's going to have.
It's experimental. Like it'll be just experimental. Everybody experiment. How's the most efficient way to do it? And I think using both is still a really efficient way to do it. They probably should try to have more than one communication device, but then you get into something, then you get into a whole nother realm, which I don't think they want to get into either. All right, there you go. That's Rod's rant of the day. We come back, we'll play Who Said That. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio, then based on the context clues or based on the familiarity of the voice, hopefully you can recall and identify who said that. We'll play that on the other side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is the last segment of the show on a 512 Friday. That's when my man Patrick, the Idealionaire, he plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Vallejo. Cheat a little bit. They're not playing this weekend, but they're playing 4th of July. We won't have another 512 Friday before 4th of July next Thursday. Doing a big free show out of Hill Country Galleria. Always a fun time out there. They do it every year. Vallejo plays, free show, bunch of bands, and then fireworks out there. So fun way to spend your 4th of July next week.
All right, there you go. I mean, Patrick always hooking you up, giving you all the info on where you can sound really cool and look really cool in front of your friends, like where all these very talented folks are going to be playing. All you got to do is listen in on 512 Friday. All right, go check out the Big Fat Poll today. It's up there as well. My man Patrick wants to know who on the new EA Sports college football video game, who should have the highest rated score among the players on the new NCAA college football video game. Right now, it is neck and neck. Travis Hunter, 46% of the vote. Quinn Ewers 45%.
Oh, they're going back and forth.
They really are going back and forth. And Carson Beck, he's third, 6%, and Donovan Edwards at 3%. It doesn't seem like people have given many other options too. So there you go. I mean, Quinn Ewers, he's on the cover of the video game. If you're on the cover of the game, you got a chance to be the highest rated player in the game. So we'll see. All right, there you go. So check out the Big Fat Poll today. You can go participate there at the Horn ATX. All right, time to play Who Said That. That's when my man Patrick plays some pieces of audio. Then based on the context clues or the familiarity of the voice, hopefully you can recall and identify who said that.
You got to be successful in what we call success. You got to be present and you got to provoke change. And I have the autonomy and the ability to accomplish all three simultaneously. It's on me how long I want to do it. And my tank is full. I mean, I'm full. I'm behind the F. You know how some cars is lean, but I'm just leaning behind the F. Just I'm so full. I don't know what to do.
You can drive like 5-10 miles and it doesn't move.
Like I'm still hitting the thing and the gas is still coming out. Like I'm so full. And I love it.
And I love it. I love the way and I love it. That's Deion Sanders right there.
Yes,
right?
Deion Sanders talking to Joel Klatt about how he wants to be known as Coach Prime. He wants his legacy to not be prime time. He wants his legacy to be Coach Prime. And what he needs to be able to do that, he lists off the things he needs to do and then said, I have all the energy. I'm on full, so I can be doing this for a long time. And that was I'm so on full. So on full that I'm
so on full. That's a t-shirt right there. You know, he gonna market, monetize it some way. I will say that he's basically clearing up any at least what he's saying is that he's not going to the NFL. All those rumors and the conspiracy theories that he's gonna follow his son to the league and go to the NFL. He's like, nah, man, that ain't happening.
And the thought that once Shedeur goes and he will be done coaching as well, that rumor he's trying to get rid of. Now we know we may have had an example this week. Sometimes coaches say something and they mean it in the moment, but then they get a phone call from a friend later that day and saying change. Sometimes.
No, it happens. I mean, I think they mean it. I think they really did in the moment. They do mean it, but yeah.
Sometimes things change.
Money can be a powerful influence, and even like Coach Loss said, man, he wanted to work with his friend. He wanted to work with CDC again. That can be powerful. Going back home or going to that's the thing that people think might entice Deion. Like the thought of going back to Florida, and not even with Florida State because Florida State doesn't need a coach right now, but Florida might. Florida might, and he's from Florida, and apparently him and Florida State, there's something weird's going on with them. Because it's something weird's going on because he says some weird things about kind of not claiming Florida State as much.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's weird. I don't know what the relationship is between. I don't know why it's strained, but it seems strained.
It does seem
strained.
Outside it does.
Yeah. But if he goes to Florida, it's definitely going to be strained. Man, that's kind of one of those, betrayals we were just talking about in sports. That's what Florida State would do that as a betrayal.
Yeah.
Him again, the in-state rival. He's going to be coaching up against his alma mater, the school he went to. Oh yeah. That would be wild. Anyway, but that's obviously hypothetical. Until next time, we'll get into some more hypotheticals. But I want to thank my man Patrick for doing such a great job on a 512 Friday and all this week. I want to thank all you guys out there for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised, but of course, we'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. Everybody have a great weekend. We love you. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. And until next time, same channel. Hook 'em and peace.